All right, good evening. The December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Here.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Baynes. Mr. Baynes is present. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley is present. Ms. Bonnick.
Here.
Ms. Bonnick is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz.
Presente.
Mr. Cruz is present. Ms. Zavecki Hoffman. Ms. Zavecki Hoffman is present. Mrs. DiFlorio. Mrs. DiFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Ms. Hughes-Smith. Ms. Hughes-Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Maffucci. Mr. Maffucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. President Román.
Here.
President Román is present. Mr. Sinclair.
Here.
Mr. Sinclair is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons.
Here.
Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson.
Here.
Mr. Udelson is present.
Thank you. Please stay seated. I'd like to invite Reverend Michael Sloan of First Congregational Church, who has been invited by Legislator Colby to lead us in a moment of prayer.
If we all can just bow for a moment. Holy God, we pause at this session as this session begins to seek the grounding we all need. In a world that moves swiftly, each day feels swifter than the last. Slow us just for a moment. Let us breathe deeply. Our shoulders drop and our attention settle on what really matters. And this season, when many observe Advent, we are reminded that hope does not always arrive with alarms. Sometimes it comes quietly, a small light, steady enough to guide the next step ahead on a dark path. We pray that such hope would rest on all gathered here today, on those who celebrate this season, and on those who walk other paths of meaning and faith. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen.
I'd like to present you with the certificate, Reverend. Thank you so much for being here. And please stand as Leader Brew will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Leader.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Your copies of Day 10, November 12th, 2025 is available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are now available on Novus Agenda as well as online. Mr. Clerk, there are several proclamations scheduled this evening.
Would Ernie Clement please come forward? Also, President Yversha Román, legislators Michael Udelson, Steve Brew, Paul Dondorfer, Susan Hughes-Smith, and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
Whereas Ernie Clement, a proud Rochester native and graduate of Brighton High School, has distinguished himself as an exceptional athlete whose dedication, perseverance, and relentless work ethic have propelled him from local baseball diamonds to the highest levels of Major League Baseball. And whereas, following an outstanding collegiate career at the University of Virginia, where he played a vital role in leading the Cavaliers to the 2015 NCAA College World Series National Championship and earned a reputation as one of the most consistent hitters in program history, Ernie was selected in the 4th round of the 2017 Major League Baseball draft by the Cleveland Indians. And whereas, since beginning his professional career, Ernie has earned recognition throughout Major League Baseball as a highly skilled, versatile, and dependable infielder, contributing across multiple positions for the Cleveland Indians, Oakland Athletics, and Toronto Blue Jays, while steadily building a reputation for discipline, character, and competitive spirit. And whereas, during the 2025 postseason, Ernie Clement elevated his game to an extraordinary level, achieving a historic milestone by recording a Major League Baseball playoff record of 30 hits, a remarkable accomplishment that showcased not only his entire talent, but also his composure and resilience under the highest pressure. And whereas Ernie's exceptional postseason performance proved instrumental in guiding the Toronto Blue Jays to the American League pennant, demonstrating his leadership, consistency, and invaluable contributions in the most crucial moments of the season. And whereas Monroe County and the entire greater Rochester community have taken immense pride in Ernie Clement's achievements, celebrating him as an inspiring hometown hero whose success reflects the strength, determination, and spirit of our region, and whose example encourages young athletes to pursue excellence on and off the field. Now, therefore, we, Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Legislature President Yversha Román, Majority Leader Michael Udelson, Republican Leader Steve Brew, and the members of the Monroe County Legislature do hereby proclaim December 9th, 2025 to be a time to recognize Ernie Clement for his extraordinary accomplishments and contributions on and off the ball field.
Thank you guys very much. Truly an honor. I don't have much to say, but Rochester will always be home for me. This place is very, very special, and it's not home just because I live here. It's home because of the amazing people. So it's impossible to leave, and it really does mean a lot. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Would Don Broking please come forward? Also, President Yversha Román, Legislators Michael Udelson, Steve Brew, and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
Office of the Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello and the Monroe County Legislature. Whereas Dawn Broking began her distinguished career with Monroe County in 1981 after graduating from Edison Technical and Industrial High School, first serving in the Personnel Department before joining the County Executive's office. Over the course of more than 4 decades, she faithfully served under all Monroe County executives, Morin, Frey, King, Doyle, Brooks, Janolfo, and Bello administrations, earning the respect of colleagues and leadership alike. And whereas Dawn's career included service as a senior stenographer in the Civil Service Department, secretary to the Personnel Director, and ultimately as Assistant Secretary to the County Executive. In every role, she demonstrated exceptional professionalism, deep institutional knowledge, and an unwavering commitment to the mission of county government. And whereas after her retirement in 2015, Dawn returned part-time to the County Executive's office, continuing to provide guidance, counsel, and dependable support. Her willingness to return to work underscores her dedication to county operations and her longstanding devotion to public service. And whereas, as Dawn prepares to officially retire at the end of 2025, we recognize her decades of service, her steady and reliable presence, and the meaningful impact she had made on staff, leadership, and the residents we collectively serve. Her legacy will continue to shape the excellence and professionalism of the County Executive's office for years to come. Now, therefore, we, Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Legislature President Yversha Román, Majority Leader Michael Udelson, Republican Leader Steve Brew, and the members of the Monroe County Legislature do hereby proclaim December 9th, 2025 to be a time to recognize Dawn Broking on her official retirement from Monroe County after 4 decades of service.
Just want to say thank you so much for the proclamation. It has been an honor to be a county employee for all of these years. I love everyone that I've worked with. They're such nice people. It's going to be hard to go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Jeff McCann, please come forward. Also, President Yversha Román, legislators Michael Udelson, Steve Brew, and County Executive Adam J. Bello.
Office of Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello and the Monroe County Legislature. Whereas Jeff McCann has dedicated more than 2 decades to serving the people of Monroe County, beginning in 2002 as Chief of Staff to the Republican Legislature Caucus and continuing as Monroe County Legislator from LD 19 from 2002 to 2013 and Deputy Majority Leader from 2004 to 2013. In these roles, Jeff consistently demonstrated integrity, professionalism, and an unwavering dedication to strengthening county government. And whereas Jeff continued his leadership in several key roles throughout county government administration, including Community Development Manager in 2013 and Deputy County Clerk from 2016 until 2019. Most recently, Jeff has served as Deputy County Executive from 2020 to 2025, where his insight, dedication, and hard work helped advance major initiatives, strengthen county operations, and improve the quality of life for residents across Monroe County. And whereas throughout his career, Jeff has been a mentor, trusted advisor, and loyal friend to countless elected officials, government colleagues, and community partners. His talent, experience, and wisdom have shaped nearly every level of government in our community, leaving a positive and profound impact that will continue as he begins the next chapter of his public service as Greasetown Supervisor. And whereas, above all else, Jeff's commitment to his family, his wife Kristen, sons Jimmy and David, and beloved dog Juno, has guided and grounded him throughout every chapter of his life. Their support, along with Jeff's compassion, integrity, and enduring dedication to public service, have helped define a career that has made Monroe County a better place for all. Now, therefore, we, Monroe County Executive Adam J. Bello, Monroe County Legislature President Yversha Román, Majority Leader Michael Udelson, Republican Leader Steve Brew, and the members of the Monroe County Legislature do hereby proclaim December 9th, 2025 to be a time to recognize Jeff McCann on his incredible tenure with Monroe County and wish him all the best for continued success in the years to come.
All right, thank you. I really am surprised by this. I wasn't expecting it, so I'll be brief. I just want to say I'm proud to be walking out the door with Dawn. I first met Dawn when she worked for County Executive Tom Fry, and So Dawn's been a part of county government for all 7 of them. You've got me beat. I've only been here for 4 of them. I just want to say what an honor it has been for me to serve this community in this capacity. Obviously, I have a tremendous respect and friendship for Adam Bello, who we've been working together daily for the little bit over 10 years with that. And I want to thank him for the opportunities that I've had to serve. And I also want to take a second to talk to my friends at the administration table and chairs and back. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of people in the, actually, I guess I can say this here, my 39.25 years in the retirement system, I've worked with a lot of people. This is the best group of people I've ever worked with in my career. And a real testament to that is you look over there, and over 6 years, we've had, people come and go, and people come into the organization in different positions. But with all of the people that we've had advance on to other opportunities, the fact that we've had people to a large degree in-house who've been able to step in and to fill the roles and to do so exceptionally is really something I'm particularly proud to be a part of. And again, I just want to say thank you to Adam, thank you to our team, and thank you for everyone here for this recognition. Thank you.
Okay, I will now recess the legislature to hold a public hearing. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Rochester Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Thank you. There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Gates Chi Ogden Sewer District, County Sewer District for County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Okay, there being none, I declare this public hearing closed. And I now declare open the public hearing entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, County Sewer District for the County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Establishing Scale of Charges for the Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, County Sewers District for the County of Monroe, New York.
No one is registered for this public hearing.
Thank you. There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now call December 9th, 2025 meeting of the legislature to reconvene. Yeah. And I now recess the legislature to hold a public hearing. I now declare open the public hearing entitled Enact a Local Law Opting to Not Establish a Registration System for Short-Term Rental Units and requiring taxpayers to provide certain information on hotel room occupancy tax returns.
We have multiple people signed up for this public hearing. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to address the legislature on the public hearing. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Please do not single out any legislator, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Our first 3 speakers are Mac McGonigal, Kelly Cheadle, and Amy D'Amico.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to begin by saying that I want to reach out to the legislators to opt in, to vote opt in tonight to build a registry, because I think that that is going to give us a lot better look at the STRs in the whole area. Sometimes if you go into some of the sites, you'll see that there's some pretty odd looking rentals. All right, I'm going to proceed with mentioning that on November the 12th, Adam Bello sent all the legislators a letter asking you to vote no to the opting in, and he provided zero data to support any of his positions. He indicates that opting in a registry must be maintained in perpetuity, as it is, he seems to believe that that might be a negative, while other systems are in perpetuity, just like this meeting all the time is. I don't know that that's a problem. He claims that opting in imposes a costly administrative burden. Well, what is the burden? What is the cost? Again, zero data. He wrote a whole letter, provided no data, not one number on the sheet. No current workload information from the VCA process and the projected burden that he claims there to be to understand any of the added workload. He says that opting in could hinder the ability to collect taxes. How? Why? Will it or won't it? He doesn't explain anything. Zero explanation. He also says opting out will have a system of VCA agreements enhanced to provide new data that will not be a burden to the county. So it seems kind of odd. You're adding new data. You're claiming it's not going to cost any work. I don't know how that works. Never worked in the businesses that I ran. County executive letter is nothing more than wordsmithing his position with zero data in the whole letter, no cost shown. I realize I'm out of time. I'll just mention this because I do have a handout. I made some calls to some of the towns to find out what their processes is, and you'd be surprised maybe what you might find. Many of the towns
Please wrap up.
ignore it.
Please wrap up, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So I do have a handout. I would
You can give
encourage
the
you
handout
before the
to-
vote to read it.
You give the handout to her. The deputy clerk. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Cheadle, and I am a Park Avenue neighbor in the city of Rochester. Just yesterday, a resident reached out about an 8-unit apartment building in their neighborhood being converted into short-term rentals. Now, sure, that means 8 more units that might sometimes host out-of-town visitors, but it also means 8 less homes where a family can actually afford to live. Homes are being turned into hotel listings, and we're expected to pretend that it doesn't impact our housing market. Because what is a crisis for your constituents is an opportunity for corporations like Airbnb. Every room that they can add to their directory means dollars added to their bottom line. Over the last year, they've made nearly $12 billion renting other people's rooms, which means that they have lots of money to spend on lobbying counties and municipalities with big firms like Ostroff Associates. According to records released barely 3 hours ago, on May 1st, Nick Morelli, the son of Congressman Joe Morelli, emailed the county a first draft of the legislation that you're looking at today, that you are expected to vote on tonight. This legislation has been presented to you as a matter of urgency because the upcoming New York State deadline of December 31st, but it has been in the pipeline for over 222 days. I am here as a housing advocate because we need you to do your job and vote no to opt out of this registry. We are in a housing crisis, and we cannot solve a problem that you refuse to count. I don't have Joe Morelli's connections. I can't give you big campaign donations like the folks at Ostroff and Associates. But tonight, you can be for damn sure that every single neighborhood group in the city of Rochester is going to know how each and every one of you voted tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Amy Diamico. I'm with Rochester Grants Pass Resistance. There's no good reason to opt out of a short-term rental registry. There are a few good reasons to have a registry of short-term rentals. We can better understand the housing market if we have data. How does a traveling nurse renting an Airbnb for 3 months impact the cost of other rental properties? We can guess, but we simply don't know without good data, which we get from a registry. And that's why I'm here tonight. But some would also point out to how much easier it is to collect taxes accurately on short-term rentals on the website like Airbnb when there is a registry. The only reason you're being asked to opt out of the registry is because Airbnb has lobbied hard for it. And we know Morelli's son, who is close with Ed and Bello, has pushed for you to vote to opt out. And that's just friends being friendly, right? Except it does hurt constituents of Monroe County who end up with the tax burden Airbnb should be paying. And as a community, we lose a source of data, which harms renters. So how does the opt-out benefit Monroe County? It doesn't. It benefits only a friend of the family and a reluctant taxpayer Airbnb. I urge you to vote no to opting out of the registry. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Andrew Moore, Sean Waddington, and Debbie Keller.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Moore. I'm here with my wife, Shelley Moore. My wife and I run an Airbnb out of a portion of our home in Park Avenue. It's an incredible amount of work, time, and expense on our part. With increases in costs, we currently run a very thin margin, but the response is overwhelmingly positive. Families want a place to come and gather in a home away from home. They walk to Park Avenue, they spend money at mom and pop shops, restaurants, cafes, grocery stores, and they love the experience. And some now look to return to Rochester just to have that experience again. We know all of this based on our reviews. This bill claims to level the playing field with hotels. What we offer is something that isn't a hotel. Guests looking for a hotel would not stay at our place. Our guests want a place to gather in a family home, a service that before short-term rentals just hadn't existed. Two totally different enterprises here, both adding to our tourism. One definite difference is that we don't have a corporation behind us. It's just my wife and I. There isn't a common playing field to be leveled. But you add on these regulations, and then in future years, the added fees and inspections and rules that we all know will come, made by somebody in Albany. Then we're done. At that point, it's not worth it anymore. And our Airbnb will be no more. And a very beneficial service, which is a draw to this area that doesn't otherwise exist, goes away altogether. And with it, no new housing, at least in our case, and no occupancy taxes at all, which are currently being collected. A real lose, lose, lose. I also read that rough estimate of all the housing units in Rochester, only approximately 1% are even used for short-term rentals. And I know in our area, there is currently housing readily available. Also, I read that part of the incentive is to apply added funds to the tourism economy. And you know what'll kill tourism is taking an amazing concept that is already bringing added revenues and profits to the local economy and killing that great thing by adding taxes and regulations that just wipe it out. That'll kill tourism. We are totally against Albany regulating Monroe County, and my wife and I would ask you to opt out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I'm here as a Perinton resident to ask the Legislature to please establish a short-term rental registry. The decision you make today is going to impact the county that my generation is going to inherit. 7 in 10 people my age have reported that they're struggling to find a job. I get that. And more of us than ever are making the financially necessary decision to live with our parents. I'm actually here today because the high cost of housing drove me out of an apartment into my childhood bedroom. So you can imagine my frustration then when the county legislature is being asked to make an exception to the rules for Airbnb, a multi-billion-dollar corporation whose bottom line depends on taking housing out of the market for visitors. Requiring property owners to register their units with the county is just a basic tool of government governance, and it also happens to be a really fair way to enforce market competition. It levels the playing field so that homeowners may actually use their secondary unit as an ADU or hire a mom and pop property management service to be able to rent that to somebody who needs it. The idea that opting out will make it easier and better for my generation is just not right. Please don't kick the can down the road. We want to know what's going on with our existing stock and housing, because that's the only way we're going to be able to figure out how to keep people like me in my generation here in the county instead of being priced out where we can no longer afford to live. So I understand that it's difficult to foresee how having this data might be beneficial, but I'm begging you, when my time comes, when you pass the baton onto my generation, we will thank you for having this data available and for understanding the contours of a very complex housing market. That's my appeal. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Debbie Keller, and I'm the chairperson for the North Winton Village Association. I represent a neighborhood of about 5,000 residents, and due to numerous problems we've had with Airbnbs, including murders, shootings, parties, illegal campers, this has been a constant topic of conversation at our monthly meetings. In addition to these issues of safety, we need to think about additional measures that a registry would allow, like, do they have smoke detectors, fire extinguishers? Do they meet the proper bedding standards and cleaning standards the way a hotel does that levels that playing field as well? A registry is also important to establish a tracking system for how many STRs we have in a given area. STRs also contribute to the instability of neighborhoods and considering that the housing crisis that we already are in, it is really important to have that data. This affects zoning issues, quality of life for our residents, and our property values. A registry also makes sure any tax revenue is distributed fairly across all municipalities, and the county has that capability to track that easier than each city, town, village. We need to opt into this registry now. We are the only New York county to not opt in. There is no reason to wait while the money from the state is on the table. The program pays for itself with the small fee. These issues need to be brought to the public in a timely manner instead of trying to hide it behind closed doors. And the ones with the highest power have known about this legislation since May, yet we have waited until the 11th hour to call to a vote as a matter of urgency. And this is just deplorable. You guys are elected officials for the people, not working for these lobbyists with strong personal ties to fill your pockets. Do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Miriam Jackal Dworst, Stormy Owsley, and Lisa Reagan.
There is a housing shortage and it's getting worse. Addressing this shortage with policy will be between inefficient and impossible without accurate data regarding the housing and short-term rental markets. Onondaga County, Albany County, and Erie County have all opted in as expected. It's the bare minimum. They can all charge a biannual registration fee to pay for it, as can Monroe County. So why have you rushed to opt out as a matter of urgency? I'm not aware of any justifiable reason for this. Again, it's the bare minimum that Monroe County can do to accurately and transparently track what happens to the properties within it. So I urge you to vote to opt in to the short-term rental registry. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stormy Owsley, and I'm a fresh, new Rochester resident. I live on Alexander Street, 274, and I fled my home state to come to Rochester, New York. I have sat in front of lawmakers like you in the state of Texas and looked at assault rifles on my Capitol steps. I fled a state where I couldn't afford, where I couldn't live, and I couldn't breathe because of climate change. These million-dollar companies want nothing more than to eat us for breakfast. I'm a senior accountant. I'm a first-generation college student. I'm a business owner. I just started my business December 1st, 2025. Providing financial services to the underfunded and the underserved of Rochester, New York. I come from Dallas, and I'm a sweet Southern belle. Rochester, New York has been nothing but kind to me and gentle. I have wanted for nothing. I sat on my apartment floor that I've sourced off of Facebook Marketplace, and I have 2 cats. I slept on an air mattress until it deflated, and I slept on blankets in your city. I came in 2024 and I stayed in an Airbnb and it was lovely. And I got to see the city. I got to see a place where I can build a family and a home and somewhere that I'm passionate about, someone that cares about Narcan. I distributed Narcan in the state of Texas because they didn't take care of their city. Plan B, condoms, dental dams are underserved populations. I personally have benefited from the Airbnb system. I'm an accountant and a bookkeeper, not a CPA, not a VP, but I've sat right next to CFOs and CEOs. I urge you to do the right thing for the people who are coming to your city and take care of Airbnb. We do not line our pockets and our pocketbooks and our families' wealthy insurance policies with the money of your residents. You should be disappointed, but let's do better. Let's do better together. There's progress to be made. I urge you to do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Reagan. I'm a resident of the South Wedge and I help facilitate 6 neighborhoods in the Southeast, but I'm speaking for myself because we didn't know about this in time to have the neighborhood associations address the issue to be able to come up with their points for you. This is a statewide effort to understand the effects of short-term rentals in our communities when the cost of housing across the country have disadvantaged communities trying to keep their communities affordable and encourage employees and employers to stay and relocate here. The registry does not prohibit SDRs, it just keeps track of them. This initiative helps the state identify and address the impacts of SDRs when every community is seeking help from the state to help keep housing affordable. The way SDRs have developed in our communities has evaded the New York State housing laws regarding conditions and renter protections. Many of our communities have recognized the impacts on close-knit neighborhoods where everyone knew and kept an eye out for their neighbors, but now neighbors don't know whether their house next door is an SDR or what. If unfamiliar cars and people go in and out, mostly on weekends, when there's little ability to contact their government officials, if something seems to be happening. It's not that most short-term rentals are bad, it's that in our neighborhoods, we don't know who lives next door to us, and a registry would help us with that. It concerns me that Monroe County would be the only large city county in New York State to opt out and leave their towns and cities blind to how many STRs exist and under what conditions, with no accountability, all while the county loses hotel tax revenues and they don't know where it's going. While young people are having difficulty affording houses in our communities, investors are inflating the cost of houses as a commodity while having little accountability, as would a normal landlord. We need the data across municipalities to understand and solve these problems. Please do not opt out of the registry.
Our next three speakers are Juliana Pietroni, Heather Feynman, and Lily Suda.
Hello, everyone. I'm Juliana Pietrantoni. I live in North Winton Village, and I'm a lifelong resident of Monroe County. I'm here today to state that I want Monroe County to vote no to opting out of the short-term rental registry. Frankly, I absolutely detest that one of the primary drivers to opting out is based on the influence of a lobbyist. The only voices that should matter are the residents, the neighbors, and the communities, not paid representatives of corporate interests. We need regulation, and we need it at the county level. Taking a piecemeal city-by-city approach is inefficient. A unified county-level registry is the most sensible way to achieve fair and effective oversight of STRs. Short-term rentals are just that. They are short-term. The county should be far more interested in fostering long-term housing stability. Our communities are built on the commitment of long-term residents, not short-term renters. When I was a first-time home buyer 4 years ago, my partner and I experienced the disruption of short-term rentals. It took me and him over a year and 10 separate offers to become homeowners. Several of those properties we bid on were purchased to be converted into short-term rentals by LLCs. Corporations that have far more resources than we did and presumably already own several properties. And we were just trying to look for our one home that we could grow our roots in. Purchasing a home in this market is already very difficult. It is disheartening to see that Monroe County would even consider adding another obstacle by allowing unchecked short-term rentals to further erode our housing supply. Why would Monroe County choose the interests of short-term rental companies over actual people, over families hoping to plant roots, over existing communities? It just does not make sense. We are not asking to ban these rentals outright, but we are demanding basic oversight. A registry is the absolute minimum required to understand the scope of the problem. We cannot manage what we don't know. I urge you to listen to the residents of Monroe County. We need to prioritize people over profits and communities over corporations. Do not opt out. Thank you for your time today. Please do what is right and just for the residents of Monroe County. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Feynman, and I live in the city of Rochester. I live on South Washington Street, right here in Cornhill. I've been unable to afford an apartment or a home. Part of the reason of that is because surrounding the area where I used to live, short-term rentals were being all over the place because I lived near Strong. And many short-term rentals, while needed right now with the deficit of nurses, they're not monitored, they're not looked at. We had a fire go up in one of the houses. Somebody burned a flag outside of one of the houses. I was the one that put it out. I ended up meeting the person who owned it months later and let him know that his house was almost burned. Nobody knew how to contact this person. Nobody knew who they were. People were coming and going. Again, we don't know our neighbors. We don't know how to get houses. We don't know how to build a community. And what we need here in Rochester is a building of community. Short-term rentals, I hope that you will opt out on it, but we need to have oversight. And this is also, if we're going to have them, as I think they are necessary evil, they need to be monitored and taxed. We need to have income coming in for this. We need to make sure that we're building community, that we're making sure that we're watching who's doing this, and we're allowing local people to buying these houses and taking this income. Part of the problem we have is people coming from California, taking over blocks and then renting them for rates that we cannot afford here in Rochester. We need to make sure that we're taking care of Rochester, and Monroe County and all the counties surrounding it have already adopted this. I do not understand why Rochester is leading the way, why Monroe County cannot be also doing that. Thank you for your time.
As any millennial will tell you, owning our own house one day is becoming more and more a dream than an achievable goal. You can put in an offer at full asking price, waive inspections, and still lose to a higher bidder. It's not just housing prices that have skyrocketed. Rent has also increased drastically. The average rent for a one-bedroom in Rochester has almost doubled since I started renting. I can assure you my salary has certainly not doubled. Most people in my neighborhood, homeowners and renters alike, have lived there for decades. I'm a newer resident myself at only 6 years there. It's a place where community has been built. A few years ago, a house across the street from me went up for sale. The price was actually affordable, but a healthcare worker, the nearby hospital, or a young family never moved in. No one moved in. A company in California bought the house for tens of thousands over asking, an all-cash offer. Now the house sits vacant most of the time. It's listed on Verbo. 1 week there is almost as much as what I pay for a month in rent. This is not the only house in my neighborhood that's been converted to a short-term rental. But truthfully, I have no clue how many there are, and neither will you without a short-term rental registry. In a year where the county is set to lose over $100 million in federal funding, why would the county opt out of an opportunity to ensure it's receiving the taxes it's owed by Airbnb or Verbo? There's a reason these companies are lobbying for the county to opt out. They don't want to pay their fair share. They don't want us to know how they're harming our housing market by driving up rental and housing prices. They don't want us to truly understand the scope of the damage they're doing to the social fabric of our communities. We are losing neighbors. We are losing our communities, but all Airbnb and Verbo care about is hiding their profits and avoiding taxes. Please vote no on opting out of the registry. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Mary Coffey, Cassandra Petsos, and Henry Litsky.
Hi, I'm Mary Coffey. I'm past chair of North Winton Village Association, an association we worked on for many, many years to raise the quality of life for the citizens of North Winton Village. And what we're talking about today are the citizens, the people of Rochester. And they are the ones we should all be here for, especially those that we put into office. We had two really bad incidences of Airbnbs in North Winton Village. One, they had a party, 6 were shot, 1 died. Another one was a big party. Thank God nobody was injured, but it was tons and tons of people. And the police had to come. They took a while to break it up. And we also have, just as one example of different ones, a woman who has fought for ages right in her, adjacent to her backyard. There's a motorhome Airbnb. And she's tried everything. We are the people. We are the people of Rochester, New York, and we must all work together for all of us, all of us for a good quality of life. And opting out of something that would help to maintain safety and a good quality life is not right. It is not right. So let us stay together, work together, and bring Rochester back to the magnificent city it once was and will be again. I thank you all.
My name is Cassandra Petsos. I live in the city of Rochester. I am here to agree and ask with the people who want you to vote no on the referral to opt out of Airbnbs. It's not a question of whether you're for or against Airbnbs. It's a question of taking advantage of state resources to create an information base that all of our towns and villages can make use of. And I don't see any downside to doing this in terms of the cost of it, doing it for the county. Maintaining databases is not expensive to do for the county. However, maintaining attorneys to check on your agreements and write up agreements and that sort of activity is an expensive activity on the part of the county. So I urge you to please vote no to opting out. I realize this was the final hour for the administration to put in such a referral, but I don't see the logic of their having done so. I also would like to reinforce some of the things that Lisa Reagan said. This was very lately on the agenda and available information to neighborhood associations. I had to skip my Browncroft Neighborhood Association board meeting tonight to come here. You know, there just was not time to put some of this stuff before and have any official statements to make. But again, I urge you to vote no to the referral. I see it only as a positive for the county of Monroe, as did the county of Erie, Onondaga County, and all the other large counties. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Henry Litsky. I'm here representing myself. I live in the city of Rochester. So regardless on where you stand on allowing short-term rentals in Monroe County and the city of Rochester, a countywide public registry is not only good governance, but it fits into the role that Monroe County already plays to support both citizens and municipalities across the county. First, transparency and open data allow all levels of government to make informed policy decisions. We can't think about regulating short-term rentals without knowing how many units there are and where they're located. This statewide registry will offer this data to all, not just the county executive's office. Moving on, Monroe County already completes similar functions in its day-to-day operations. For example, for the past 30 years, Planning Office has completed an annual land use monitoring report, which analyzes changes in land use across all of Monroe County. This is an exact similar function to that. We're providing data for all of our lawmakers in different municipalities to make informed decisions. This will also allow us to benchmark with our other peer cities across upstate New York as they're doing the same data process. It won't be a guess to transfer different data to see, well, does this actually match to what's happening in Buffalo? It's the same system. So if we're worried about losing tax revenues as a result of opting in, luckily this body here can raise taxes. We can match what was there before, so we can have both open data, transparency, and effective regulations for all. So thank you for hearing me out this evening, and I hope you'll vote no on this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Leah Nordhaus. This concludes the public hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. The December 9th, 2025 meeting of the legislature is reconvened. We will now hold the public forum. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for the public forum. We ask that everyone maintain decorum during this time. We will not tolerate any disruptions during this meeting from the gallery. A second warning will be issued before a deputy will be asked to remove you from the gallery. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers are Paul Forcella, Raul Willick, and Elizabeth DeLeon Fox.
Insurance companies are wolves in sheep's clothing. Several years ago, there was a report that companies like State Farm and Allstate swindled their customers and abandoned them. Watch out for these. Life insurance companies see their customers as a statistic only. I have seen treachery from health insurance companies like Excellus. They're only several hundred feet from this building. Excellus belittles my complaints and tries to shut me down and considers me a pest. MVP Health is just as bad. They try to belittle my concerns and dismiss them. Beware of both of these health insurance companies. The health regulators in Albany also try to belittle complaints. They are bad too. A strong, tough regulator must step in and toughly deal with these groups right now.
Dear officials, my name is Raul Willock. I'm the general manager at Motel 6. I've been here quite a few amount of times, but I'm advocating for the company that I run, the hotel. Over the last 2 weeks, it's been extremely cold temperatures out. My staff and I have witnessed firsthand the growing number of individuals walking through our doors without a place to stay. It is heartbreaking to have them turn around and leave. In many cases, my staff have to contact me to say, hey, can we reach out to an agency and place them here? There has been many noticeable declines in the number of individuals being placed despite the rising number of homeless individuals in Rochester. Motel 6 continues to be a vital outlet and resource in the community, and we're advocating to make more rooms available to those who require temporary, safe, and warm accommodations. We believe that with the right partnership, we could create a streamlined, efficient, and human process that's friendly for individuals to come and stay at a safe and clean hotel. Additionally, we are asking for more communication and transparent placement outreach from the Department of Human Services officials so that we can make this process a lot more streamlined. We propose to establish a straightforward process where individuals with no safe place to go can contact 311 and they could go directly to the hotel. Upon arrival, our guest service representatives will check them in, walk the guests to their room, and then coordinate with other agencies in regards to extended and temporary housing. Going forth in regards to this process, we want to make sure that we're transparent with every individual, that we're going to make sure their stay is warm, comfortable, safe, and welcoming. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth DeLeon Fox, and I'm here basically to advocate for the importance of Monroe County CPS. I'm coming here as an investigator, and I've been doing this for almost about 4.5 years now. And recently with the news coming out with the article saying that, a lot of taxpayer money is wasted on us. I'm here to show what is actually done. When I go into a situation, I never know what I'm walking into. We are not allowed to arm ourselves with anything, not mace, not anything. We are not allowed to bring anyone with us. We have to go individually. Sometimes we'll go in and it's, there's guns places. I've gone to a place where I had a man with a swastika on his chest. And I still go in there every single time, no matter who it is that I'm visiting with. And I place no judgment on them because I always say, even if someone is doing wrong, sometimes it's only because that's all they know. People do what they know and they just need a little help. I don't treat people like names on a case file. I treat them as individuals. I tell them I'm there to help them, not hurt them. And sometimes we are their only lifeline. Sometimes people call in on themselves just to get help from us because they don't know what else to do. And for us to be accused of like wasting spend of taxpayer money is nuts to me because people don't know how crazy it is for us, how many cases that we can get on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. I have gotten to the point where I was getting 3 cases a day at one point, and we had 24 hours to see all these children, no matter how many different homes they were. We have to use our own vehicles. So some of us barely keep our head above water and have to do secondary jobs because we're not paid as much as people think that we are. And when we use our own vehicle, we get mileage back, but that does not account for the value of our car going down, the oil changes, the new tires that we have to get, the time taken away from our own family, my own children. But yeah, this job is the most important job I've ever had in my life, other than being a mother myself. And I just wanted to say that I really hope that people don't just assume that we're just these evil people coming in, just trying to cause chaos and split families apart when we truly just want to help. And to have funding taken away from us would just be a shame.
Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Alan Neknikian, Taylor Chrysler, and Izal Harris.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ellen Knocknickian with the No Deportation Airlines and Rochester Group. And we understand that you all are trying to get the budget done tonight. So we decided we would only send me and so you could try to get out of here rather early. You're not going to get out of here early, but earlier rather than later. And actually, I was trying to bring you some of my holiday pecans that I make every year. But it was a bit of a process trying to get them through to you. I wanted you to be able to snack on them while you were doing the budget because I thought that made it somewhat tolerable. However, I was not allowed to do that. I was just going to give you the pecans and then leave. But I was told that I guess the Republicans are going to get 1 tin of nuts and the Democrats are going to get another tin of nuts. That's how it got explained to me. So I think that you go to your separate, whatever your rooms are, your caucuses, and you'll have them tomorrow. So I just want to say that this, it really struck me a little odd because I'm just like, I just want to give you guys pecans and say thank you for the work that you do. And they're not really like, Republican pecans or Democratic pecans. Like they're really all the same. Their stomachs are all the same. Like honestly, it struck me a little weird. And then I started thinking about like the labels that we use, like, Republic. Okay, you got to give some pecans to the Republicans, some to the Democrats. Like, okay. But you're all legislators. You all have stomachs. If you don't have an allergy in the nuts, I'm sure you'd appreciate them. And then that got me thinking, how we think about immigrants and what we call them shapes our responses to them. Do we call them criminals? Well, if we do, we're going to for sure dehumanize them, feel like it's okay to send them off on airplanes to maybe be killed or whatever. However, they're really people like us. They're human beings. The way they're not like us actually is they're more vulnerable because they wouldn't be trying to leave their countries to come here if they had a good situation. My father was an immigrant. He came to this country in 1933. He wouldn't be allowed to come today. I wouldn't be here. So we can't let an airline, a Bello Airlines, that does ICE deportations and takes people to be tortured.
You have to
murdered.
wrap up.
Yeah. Fly out of our airport. So what I just wanted to say is, let's
Thank
get
you.
back to opening our hearts and cherishing our fellow human beings.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Taylor. I'm also here about the CPS news article that came out. I'm a caseworker at Monroe County DHS, and I've been employed there for almost 3 years. I'm currently on the foster care intake team, but I started off my career in investigations on the CPS side. I've investigated many reports while being an investigator. CPS reports have two outcomes, either indicated or unfounded. Indicated means that there's a fair preponderance of evidence that suggests that neglect or maltreatment occurred, and unfounded means that there was not a fair preponderance of evidence to suggest that neglect or maltreatment occurred. I'm here tonight to tell you that in either scenario, indicated or unfounded, mainly unfounded, my work matters. With that being said, just because a report is unfounded does absolutely not mean that the family did not benefit from CPS involvement or that my interactions with them were a waste of resources. In fact, I believe most of my caseworker skills and further development of people skills occurred on cases that ended up being unfounded. For example, I've worked on unfounded cases where mothers have disclosed domestic violence to me, which they have never shared with anyone else. I've worked on unfounded cases where I accompanied a single mother to family court to assist and support her in retrieving an order of protection against the father of her child. I've worked on unfounded cases where I've given out bus passes when a family did not have access to transportation. I've made referrals to community-based interventions and programs to help support families after my involvement ends. I've given food vouchers to families who needed extra support during a difficult financial situation. All of these things have been done on unfounded cases. Who is to say that these families did not deserve or need the support that I was able to provide them? My goal for speaking tonight in the 2 minutes I was given is to provide insight into the work that is done by caseworkers every day in our county. We did not choose this profession for a big paycheck or the great big benefits. We chose this profession because we want to make a difference. Myself and other caseworkers at DHS strive to make this difference every day. I hope in hearing this, my firsthand experiences shed some light on the profession, because no one truly understands the work we do, and no one should be allowed to speak on the work we do or make inferences on the work we do unless they've done it firsthand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Zell Harris, a community activist without the beard. In my last appearance, I made the allegations against the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office, which was aired on News 10 NBC. A couple of days later, News 10 NBC intentionally and inaccurately aired and published a news article, "Accuser Retracts Claims Against the Medical Examiner's Office." This was an absolute lie. I did not retract my claim. I only withdrew my request for an investigation because I knew that there could be no investigation. I was not going to reveal or snitch out the name of the funeral director, the funeral home, or the homicide victim. Under the threat of a libel suit, defamation of character, News 10 NBC withdrew. They took down that article, but that did not stop the county executive from posting that inaccurate and misleading story on his Facebook page that claimed that the claims were unfounded and that I insisted that the county stop investigating. Listen, I don't beg anybody for anything. And let me say this much: this disabled American veteran, again, doesn't beg anyone for anything. However, in my opinion, this shows a lack of character for an individual, especially an elected official, who would try to smear the reputation of a senior citizen, disabled veteran. And friends, let me tell you about myself. I'm a former United States Army military policeman. I was trained by the men who fought in Vietnam. These men taught me to have some backbone and to respect authority. After I left the military, I was employed at Eastman Kodak as a security officer. In 1992, I ran for Rochester City Council and got 10,000 votes. How many of you have gotten 10,000 votes? I was a member of the group called Friends and Family of Murdered Children, and that was a group that was started by the late Audrey Smith. And in 1993, I was invited to tour the medical examiner's office that was located at the Monroe County Community Hospital. In closing, listen, I've been around. I'm not worried about my credibility or integrity. And I want to say this to the powers that be. See, you can't intimidate this veteran. See, you've got the right string, but the wrong yo-yo.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Shanitra Thomas, Glenna Chance, and Kelly Cheadle.
Hello, I'm Shanitra Thomas. I am here representing the CPS caseworkers. I have been a caseworker since 2017, and currently I am on the impact team. So impact investigates severe abuse of children, death, and sex abuse. So the recent article that came out that my counterpart Taylor was just talking about negatively affected or negatively reflected the role of CPS. However, when I read the article, I found hope. It said 76% of the cases of child abuse or maltreatment was unfounded, and I thought that was amazing. When you think about it, one child being abused or mistreated is one too many. So if you have 76% of the cases unfounded, that means we are doing something right in our community. So I found hope that actually fueled my fire of why I'm a caseworker. So when I go out, not only now, but going forward, I want the numbers to rise every year from 76 to 86 to 96. So there's no children that are being abused or mistreated. But we can't do that if we're not working together, if we forget our passion, if we forget what we're doing. Everyone in this room here is here for our community. So I just leave you with the scripture that says, do not get weary in well-doing, because in due season you will reap a harvest. And so I'm looking that my harvest will be our community changed. Our harvest will be our community healed. Our harvest that our children will grow up in a community that is made for just them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenna Chance. RGE will now adulterate your gas meter. When I spoke at this meeting a year ago, I had recently been displaced from my home by RGE's sneaky, unauthorized, and unannounced smart meter installations at the properties of both my next door neighbors. They were shocked when I had to tell them that their properties had been violated. Despite the fact that they didn't want the meters, they had been installed without notification beforehand or afterwards. The microwave meter's proximity to my property forced me out of my house for more than 4 months, during which time I was in constant contact with RGE, Avangrid, and Iberdrola administration until they finally switched the meters back to analog. This after initially refusing to do so in opposition to their own stated policy. During these months, I was the recipient of cruel, vindictive, and borderline illegal action by RGE Avangrid. As always, I have concrete substantiation for any and all such claims. As I told RGE President CEO Nilsson, it takes a special kind of brutality to eradicate a disabled senior's Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's, knowing full well that that disabled senior is forced to spend the winter in an unheated attic room in someone's house. RGE has announced that it will now move all the gas meters outdoors. How convenient to now sneak these smart RF antennas onto the gas meters. I am here to warn you to be vigilant. RGE has proven its unethical and deceptive business practices over and over again. Watch out for this newest one. Just say no.
Hello again. I recognize that the budget is already written, but as we look ahead to 2026, I ask that next year's budget and any changes you can make this year, that you focus on care and not cruelty. With major federal budget cuts coming, running Monroe County like a business will not work. Businesses cut corners to protect profits. Households take care of the people that live in them. Government should do the same. Right now, the budget grows spending on punishment while cutting programs that keep people alive. Public health staff, housing support, services that prevent addiction, and community organizations that meet people's basic needs. We're funding jail cells faster than we're funding recovery. We're investing in court payouts instead of preventing harm. That's backwards. When families face hardship, they don't respond with hoops, sanctions, or paperwork punishments. They do what it takes to help each other survive. We should be doing the same. We need you to realize that there are barriers to supports, and you need to remove those barriers. We need to end sanctions that punish people for struggling and utilize those opioid dollars for real harm reduction. We need you to invest in housing stability, treatment without shame, and resources that meet people where they are. A budget is not just numbers. It shows us who you believe A budget is not numbers. It shows us who you believe deserves to live. If we want fewer overdoses, fewer evictions, fewer lawsuits, and fewer crises, we must prioritize care and resilience over punishment and red tape. Run this county like a household. Yes, make sure that you keep the lights on, but more importantly, please keep people alive. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Judy Mazurowitz, Kate Fleury, and Jessica Kilpatrick.
Good evening. I'm Judy Mazurowitz, and my topic is composting facilities. We all know that composting organics and food scraps really makes a difference in our countywide efforts to implement the Monroe County Climate Action Plan. Thank you for passing phases 1 and 2. Sequestering carbon, improving soil structure, building our local economy, and diverting hundreds of thousands of metric tons of CO2 emissions per year, reducing levels of methane gas in landfills, are all impactful reasons to encourage and facilitate effective composting. To achieve these benefits, we need 4 or 5 more composting facilities around the county. To meet the distance requirement of 25 miles in the DEC Food Donation and Food Scraps Recycling Law, which was passed almost 4 years ago. These facilities would offer options: composting at home, dropping off food scraps at a neighborhood hub, or making use of a collection service. Providing the facilities as soon as possible can generate more participation by local businesses, schools, residents, as well as preventing higher future costs from continued climate damage. Money invested now will ensure a more sustainable environment for ourselves, our children, grandchildren, and beyond. Thank you for hiring our county sustainability engineer, director, and coordinator. Ms. Quinn, our coordinator, gave a wonderful presentation at our Color West Side Green meeting that encouraged us to assist with implementation of the county plan in our region. The investment in staff hiring does bring returns. Thank you for approving funds for school district food scrap diversion programs. As a substitute teacher in the Churchville-Chili Central School District for many years, I'm aware of the difficulty in teaching students effective recycling and composting practices. But developing these healthy habits is certainly a valid goal for the use of taxpayer dollars. Grant application times for those funds need to coordinate with district budget constraints and be open long enough. I'm also grateful for the Eco Park, which I use very often. Building multiple food composting facilities around our county is an important step toward reaping the benefits envisioned in the Climate Action Plan and complying with state law. Let's do it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kate Fleury from Color West Side Green. Thank you for arranging time for citizens to come and bring concerns and requests. A few years ago, I became a master gardener through the cooperative extension system. And since then, I have been running a learning and experimental garden on my 1/2 acre in Hilton. And you might be surprised to learn that my favorite part of gardening is dirt. I love living healthy soil with all the helpful organisms that make plants grow better and sequester carbon. One of the many ways to make soil great is through composting. I'm very lucky to have the space for 9 compost bins. We put in lawn cuttings, manure, leaves, old plants, straw, and shredded paper. After a couple years, the soil is like velvet. It's soft and crumbly. It's rich and dark, and all that goes into the vegetable beds. But if I lived in an apartment or a more urban environment, I might not be able to have a compost pile. I would still want to grow plants on a deck, balcony, or patio, and to use compost to improve the soil. I would still want for my kitchen scraps to not end up in the landfill. So I hope that we will be continuing to get county facilities to take organic garbage and or to have kitchen scraps picked up on the curbside. Thank you for listening to these concerns, and please continue to support the Monroe County Climate Action Plan. Please help us all to create the beautiful velvet soil in this wonderful place we live in.
Hello. My name is Jessica Kilpatrick. I'm a supervisor in investigations and child protective services. I'm responding to the article that was on, I guess, several media outlets alluding to investigating unfounded cases being a waste of time. I actually wrote something this time. We don't get to choose the cases we are assigned, and we don't have a choice whether to investigate. We have to show the same level of care and urgency, whether the police are on scene when we arrive or a 15-year-old isn't attending school. Unfounded cases mean there wasn't enough evidence to suggest a child was harmed or placed at risk of harm. They are not a waste of time. Not only are we assessing the safety of children, we are assessing risk. Even when parents or caretakers are meeting the needs of their children, there still may be concerns. I've assisted victims of domestic violence with how to file an order of protection, connect them to Willow, and make a referral to the care portal for household items. I've assisted a young couple whose child wandered away from home without supervision with obtaining locks and a baby gate to prevent future incidents. I've directed a grandparent on how to file for custody of their grandchild after learning the parents were struggling with addiction. I brought food, formula, diapers, and wipes to a family who is displaced due to a fire in their apartment. I've burped a newborn while her mother used the bathroom. We know how helpful that is, anyone who's been a parent in those early stages. I've helped locate and contact family members to avoid an emergency removal during a parent's medical crisis. I've advocated for children and parents who are intimidated by the school system, hospitals, and other agencies in communicating their needs and wants. I've referred numerous families to preventive services, which are voluntary, in order to support parents with the many responsibilities in parenting children. I'll wrap up. All of these cases were unfounded, yet the families still had needs not being met. We were able to support families in meeting the needs of their children and decrease the risk of future neglect. Thank you.
Our next 3 speakers are Amy D'Amico, Jillian Evans, and Phyllis Wickerham.
So I also wanted to talk about the budget tonight on behalf of Rochester Grants Past Resistance. I urge you to vote the budget down. You had very little time to review it or ask questions or propose amendments. Tonight, you're asked to sign your initials under someone else's work. That's embarrassing. Your constituents hardly had time to review it, bring comments to your committees, or ask you to amend it to better reflect county needs. That's insulting. It is a beast of a budget, one that prioritizes policing and surveillance over public health and safety net funding. It contains radical propositions like the idea that you'll only need to set aside $120,000 for lawsuits against the county, even though you spent about $90 million last year. Assumptions such as that the Children's Center needs $1 million more for staff and that secure detention days will increase from 150 to 3,000 days for youth there, offering no rationale why that assumption is there. I urge you to vote no to this rushed process budget. Give yourselves time to consider the budget thoughtfully and actually have input into its final form. Give your constituents a real voice at the table through your work and your perspective. Why else would you be here? Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jillian Evans. I've worked for Monroe County Child Protective Services for 19 years. I am currently the supervisor of the CPS training team. When I saw the article that the Children's Agenda released, I felt compelled to speak tonight. Yes, approximately 75% of our cases are unfounded. An unfounded case does not mean it is fake or called in vindictively or out of spite. Many times there are safety concerns and risk issues, and families are genuinely in need of services. And we provide those services and referrals. And in turn, doing that, we can reduce the risk and reduce the likelihood that the family would become involved in our system again. Whenever I speak to our newest staff, I talk about what a privilege it is to do this work. We knock on a stranger's door, a member of our own community, and even though tasked with addressing a report against them, alleging they are abusing or maltreating their child, families so often let us in. They let us into their home and their lives. They share their current struggles, their strengths, what obstacles they have overcome in their life to be where they are today, and oftentimes what struggles they may need some support in overcoming. When this happens, we have the privilege to help, to be a catalyst for change, the connection to a service, a resource, a provider, an advocate, to help a single mother that is struggling and just give her that extra push to support her and give her the services that she wants and needs. To let a new mother vent to you as her CPS worker while holding her newborn, just to give her a break because she has no other supports in her life. When a client asks if you will be an emergency contact for them as they have no one else in their lives they can count on. Does that sound like we are causing lasting damage to children and their families? We do our best to partners with the families and advocate for them. We cannot pick and choose the cases that we put on our desks. We have to take every single report seriously, because imagine if it was your grandchild, your neighbor, your niece, or your nephew who you had concerns about. Wouldn't you want the CPS worker to take the other end and take it seriously, to gather the best information and to ensure your loved one is safe? That's what we do, and we do it with empathy, respect, and care for the children and families in our community, because the stakes are high and it could cost a child their life.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Phyllis Wickerham. I'm a Rush resident. I'm here tonight because I had reading the budget and going down through the costs and increases. As a weekly visitor to the Seneca Park Zoo for the past 30 some odd years, I've watched the attendance numbers go down there. We are there on a weekly basis, and there used to be a time when it was difficult to find a parking space at the zoo on any given summer weekend. Those days are gone, and it's because admission costs have risen. This year, you're proposing raising those costs for general admission another $2. A family of 4, as proposed, would be spending $58, 2 adults, 2 children. And that's for admission only. If they wanted to visit the cafe, a hot dog costs $13.95. You multiply that by 4, it's an additional $55. Excuse me. How many hardworking middle-class families do you think can afford over $100 to visit the zoo? We are lucky because we can afford to have our membership there. But I'm wondering, what was the basis for the decision to raise costs when your projections for admission are flat going into next year? So the more you raise costs, the less you will have attendance. I appreciate your consideration and the support for the Seneca Park Zoo, but we should be supporting our families and allowing them this one opportunity to go in and visit a wonderful place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are Terrence Schnurr and Leah Nordhaus.
Several months ago on a committee night, I said that I have no doubt that there are some people on the minority side who realize that there is nothing Republican, conservative, normal, or acceptable about what has happened in this country since since January 20th. And expressed the hope that some of you would show the courage and patriotism to do the hard work of starting a third party. Since that time, the vice president has expressed the belief that because my ancestor gave his leg for this country at Petersburg, and his ancestor committed treason in the same time frame, we are more American than those whose ancestors left China or the shtetls and ghettos of the Russian and Austrian Empire in the decades that followed, than those whose ancestors came here from Poland or Italy or Liberia or Jamaica or Laos in the 20th century, than those who are citizens because their ancestors became citizens when Hawaii, Alaska, or Puerto Rico became part of this country, than the Etrurian or Burmese immigrants who swore allegiance to this country last month. We have seen a president who promised an end to forever wars, try to start a new one by committing war crimes in the Caribbean. We have seen selective prosecution because a government official spent his workday going through the boilerplate of the mortgages of president's enemies. Please, your skills, your prominence is necessary to allow a two-party system to continue to exist now that your party has lost all legitimacy by coming into the thrall of a would-be Tsar. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
Thank you. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. At this time, we will recess the December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature and will reconvene the Rochester Pure Waters District, the Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Rondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, and Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District of Pure Waters and Administrative Board. If there are no objections regarding referrals 25-0328, we will move to lift and adopt all four districts with one vote. In regards to the referral 0343, we will adopt all four districts with one vote. The clerk will see to it that individual motion and resolution numbers are assigned to each. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
We have agenda item numbers 1, 4, 7, and 10. Referral 25-0328 entitled, or providing that resolution entitled establishing scale of charges for Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and Rochester Pure Waters District County Sewer Districts for County of Monroe, New York, be lifted from the table.
Move it, Madam President.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Maffucci. This is to lift for all four districts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Oh, legislator Sinclair is back. Yes.
Got him.
Sorry about that.
What was that?
He said sorry about that.
Okay.
Your turn.
P-Web agenda item numbers 2, 5, 8, and 11. Referral 25-0328. Providing that resolution entitled establishing scale of charges for Gates Chili Ogden Sewer District, Irondequoit Bay South Central Pure Waters District, Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District, and Rochester Pure Waters District County Sewer Districts for County of Monroe, New York, be adopted.
Move them, Madam President.
Second.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Maffucci. This is to adopt for all four districts. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
P-Web agenda item numbers 3, 6, 9, and 12. Referral 25-0343, authorizing contracts with Collier's Engineering and Design, Architecture, Landscape Architecture Surveying, Fisher Associates, Bello Associates, and Wendell WD Architecture, Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture for Geographic Information System Term Services.
Move it, Madam President.
Second.
Moved by legislator Hughes-Smith, seconded by legislator Maffucci. This is to adopt for all districts. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Rochester Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. And I now will reconvene the December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk please read the first item on the agenda?
Item number 1, referral 25-0380.LL, providing that local law entitled enact a local law opting not to establish a registration system for short-term rental units and requiring taxpayers to provide certain information on hotel room occupancy tax returns be lifted from the table.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Baynes. This is to lift from the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 25-0380.LL, providing that local law entitled enact a local law opting not to establish a registration system for short-term rental units and requiring taxpayers to provide certain information on hotel room occupancy tax returns be adopted.
Moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Baynes. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator McIntyre.
I rise to explain my vote on this one.
Okay.
I'm blessed to have a very good relationship with my constituency. And one thing that I know for sure is that they want more knowledge of who is renting. I am a renter myself. But I do believe that opting out of this is a mistake, especially for how my constituents feel. So I will be voting against the opt-out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Vasquez Simmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to explain my vote. My constituents in the Market View Heights area, particularly those that live in the inner loop area, have voiced their concerns about the growing number of investors that have purchased properties and converted these properties into Airbnb. Neighbors have had to deal with late night parties, an increase of violence, and loitering due to the lack of oversight by the property owners and Airbnb. My constituents indicate that calls to 911 result in there's not much they can do and often refer them to Airbnb. There's simply no accountability. I'm a firm believer that a registry will help curb the quality of life issues that they're experiencing. Market View Heights may be part of the designed Crescent area, but that community deserves respect and quality of life as they rebuild the Market View Heights community due to the inner loop installation that ripped it apart. I will be voting against this MOU.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
Thank you. I rise to explain my vote. First, I'd like to thank legislators who seriously engaged on this topic. I deeply appreciate it. I know this was very difficult in a short period of time. When New York State passed a law requiring counties to create a registry, Airbnb got to work. Airbnb didn't want this registry anywhere. So it employed lobbyists. It had people on their staff, and it had a firm, Ostroff and Associates, that it assigned to upstate New York. Airbnb approached Erie County. Erie County said, no, they're already doing a registry. They approached Onondaga County, which is led by a Republican. Onondaga County said, no, they're going to do a registry. Albany County, Airbnb approached them. They said, no, going to do a registry. The New York State Tourism Association, the New York State Association of Counties, the New York State Conference of Mayors, everyone said, do the registry. It's a good idea. The governor said, do a registry. Our state lawmakers said, do a registry. But Airbnb, they got a very welcome reception in Monroe County. Monroe County says, no, we don't want to do a registry. I wonder why that is. Well, we have the paperwork, the records that show us why that is. Monroe County stands alone because a powerful congressman here has a son who works for Ostroff and Associates. And 3 hours ago, we were given information that I suspected was there all along, showing that Nick Morelli, Joe Morelli's son, was deeply involved in crafting the very legislation that we're voting on tonight that Airbnb wants, that is extremely favorable to Airbnb and that keeps data disaggregated. They really like that term. I've been doing this a long time. I think I've done stories on Joe Morelli and Ostroff Associates. In our democracy, the reason that we have campaign finance disclosure laws and the reason that we have lobbying disclosure laws and the reason all of this activity is heavily regulated is because the public deserves to know who is influencing their government. And what we have learned is that since May, at least, what we have learned is that a multi-billion-dollar corporation was able to employ a congressman's son and got access to the people at that table. Well, my constituents who you heard from tonight, they didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about it. And my constituents have grave concerns. It's very clear who this administration favored in this deal, and it wasn't the public. Now, we need a registry. We need it for three big reasons. First, we need it because we need data. We need transparency on what is going on. I live in North Winton Village. It's a hot housing market. It's very difficult to buy a home there. It's difficult to rent. Rents are going up. But we don't know if STRs, short-term rentals, we don't really know how they're affecting the market. That's why we need the data. Everybody has anecdotes, everybody has assumptions, but the data would help us make informed policy decisions. And we want that. And the other reason is tax collection. These side agreements, these VCAs, these voluntary contribution agreements, NYSAC was very clear, the New York State Association of Counties, we can still do those. It's very misleading and disingenuous of the administration to say, oh, our revenue is in jeopardy. Well, how come we're the only county that thinks our revenue is in jeopardy? It's nonsense. That's an Airbnb talking point. We need a level playing field between all STRs, including the ones not on the Airbnb platform that we don't have agreements with, and hotels. You come stay here, you pay that tax, and we collect that tax. We have data on that tax, and we have information to make sure that Airbnb and other platforms are submitting the right information. And the final reason is enforcement. I actually live next to a double that is an Airbnb. Guy who owns it, he's great. He does a good job. But a block from me, there was a homicide. You heard a couple streets away, there was a camper being rented out as an Airbnb. This went on for months with an electrical cord tied to it. We need enforcement. And having this would be an additional tool. The Attorney General could get involved if we needed. It makes absolutely no sense to opt out. Now, Airbnb had months and months to lobby Monroe County officials because they're friends. Joe Morelli and Adam Bello are very close. That's okay. That happens in politics. Lobbying is normal. Lobbying is legal. It's highly regulated, but it's legal. What makes this situation unusual is the family ties here. It's not okay. Because while they had months and months to craft this legislation, my constituents had one night. And you heard them all say they felt rushed. They couldn't take this to their boards. They couldn't get other neighbors to come. Does that sound fair to you? We vote on this tonight. We vote yes. We send a message to every multi-billion-dollar corporation in this country. You hire Joe Morelli's son in Monroe County, you get what you want. And the public does not. Is that the kind of government we want here? It is not. And I know I have some colleagues who are very well-meaning, and they're going to say, well, we can come back. We can do this another time. You read those emails and you tell me if we're ever going to do this again. We are not under this administration, not with Joe Morelli in office. They'll clearly do anything they can to make sure that this body never, ever opts in to to a state registry, ever. Tonight, I am voting for transparency. I am voting for the interests of my community, and I am voting against this kind of soft corruption. It should stop. We have the power to stop it, and I am voting to stop it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Baynes.
Through you, Madam President, to the administration.
Yes.
If we were to opt into the registry or not vote and the registry would take effect, would the County of Monroe respond to complaints about parties and unruly behavior at short-term rentals?
Through you, Madam President, Matthew Schwartz from the Law Department. Legislator, the question that you're asking obviously has to do with the enforcement mechanism associated with short-term rentals. The county, other than perhaps the sheriff's office, does not have an enforcement mechanism. And so other than in those situations where there's perhaps an allegation of violence or criminal activity, and the sheriffs become involved, the county would not be in a position to directly respond to those instances. That does not prevent local municipalities, for example, the city of Rochester, from enacting their own laws that do allow for code enforcement relative to short-term rentals. But that obviously would be up to the city and any other local municipality to decide.
So through you, Madam President, what you're saying is that that wouldn't be a function of the registry to enforce issues around nuisances on properties that are in the registry. Is that correct? Am I hearing you correctly?
Through you, Madam President, yes, those are two separate aspects of the state law as proposed.
And through you, Madam President, we heard from a lot of very well-intentioned and thoughtful community members tonight who want to know what short-term rentals are going on in their neighborhood. Will our participation, were we to choose to participate in the short-term rental registry, become a portal whereby citizens could reach out to the County of Monroe and say, is the neighbor at number whatever street running a short-term rental? Or can you tell me who's running a short-term rental in whatever neighborhood, whether it's East Rochester, Fairport, or North Winton Village? Is that something that the county would be providing to its citizens with this registry?
Through you, Madam President, Legislator, that's an excellent question. The answer is, I don't know. And I want to explain that answer. The section of law that lays out short-term rentals and all the requirements associated with it is broken down into a few different sections. One of them has to do with registration, and another one has to do with regulation. The regulation section describes, for example, what a short-term rental host or a booking service such as Airbnb is required to collect, what type of data they're required to collect and ultimately provide to the county. And they reference all the things that you would expect. Just as an example, the number of guests, the date of the stays, the costs, things like that. In that same section, it says that I'll read it to you. It says, beginning 90 days after the effective date of this article, and on the first day of every January, April, July, and October thereafter, the booking service shall report such data to each county within which any short-term rental unit included in such data is located. So it does provide a requirement that whether it be a host or a booking service like Airbnb, they have to provide this information to the county. In that same section, it goes on to say that the county which has received such data from a booking service shall share such data with all city, town, and village, or village governments located within such county within 60 days of receiving such data, and shall make such data available to city, town, or village enforcement agencies upon request. But more importantly, it says such data and any records provided to generate such data shall not be made publicly available. So it specifically says that that information cannot be provided to the public. And then when you go into the registration section of this law, it lays out all the various aspects of registration. It says that, the counties that are covered jurisdictions shall be required to establish a registration system. It talks about short-term rental hosts being required to register, but it does not provide in any way what the registry has to consist of. It doesn't say that the registry has to include the address or the host name or the guests that stayed there or the number of nights. It does not provide what the registry has to consist of. And unfortunately, the law was not, in my opinion, this is purely my legal opinion, was not very well written. But if you have one aspect of the law saying that all of the information that you would expect to find in a registry cannot be made publicly available, then I think it severely limits what type of information can be included in a registry. And it may not be the information that everybody thinks would be included in a registry.
Through you, Madam President, thank you. I think it's always helpful to read the statute, and to take a look at what the words say. So I guess I have one last question for you. Based on what you read to us and how you responded to that question about available data, would you agree with this statement that it appears that the data is designed to be shared with other local governments based on the explicit language of the statute?
Through you, Madam President, yes, I would agree with that.
So, Madam President, I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes.
I'm super frustrated that this is a matter of urgency. I'm super frustrated that we haven't had enough time to talk about this. And this is a major policy decision. On the other hand, it's not the Cuban Missile Crisis. And it's not a meteor speeding toward our county. You know, we can think and pause and go forward as a county about this in a way that makes sense. It's not a crisis. So when you're addressing a serious policy matter, as we are, the best thing you can do is gather all of the partners and folks involved and all the data available. I think the folks who want this registry for data, they're my people because I love data. And I think there's three major buckets of data we do not have tonight. So it's kind of weird that the argument is that we didn't have enough time, so let's make an irrevocable decision right now. It kind of contradicts itself. So there are three different buckets of information I'd like to gather, and I think we could gather them over the next months. The first one is, I want to hear from our towns and villages about this. I asked the question, did we confer with them? I heard that we have not. We have 750,000 people in Monroe County. I think half of them have a new town supervisor who hasn't even been sworn in yet. 5 of them, they changed parties. I think if I remember them, that Reese, they have over 120,000 people over there. I don't get to the west side that much. Don't hate me. You got Webster, it's one of the biggest towns in the county, has a new supervisor. Penfield, Perinton, and Mendon, and Irondequoit has elected a new supervisor. So that could be half the citizens of the county. And I represent 2 villages and a town. The town village of East Rochester, you might not know that it's actually both a town and a village. East Rochester is different. And then I represent part of the town of Perinton and, of course, the village of Fairport. I haven't had a chance. So the people complaining about not having a chance to do the work, I agree with them. But I want a chance to talk to those folks in the towns. Now, exemplifying that issue is the town of Irondequoit. They just went through an extensive process, did a lot of work, and they passed an STR law. And I would think many of the towns in our county will be looking at the town of Irondequoit. That law is going into effect when? Now? Next week or something? Right? So I want to know how that's going. And is it, in fact, a better solution to do these STR registries where they can enforce, where they actually have enforcement tools at the town level? I don't know the right answer, but I hear from the town of Irondequoit. But the most, I think, available data set for us is the argument that other people are doing it. And as I shared with my colleagues, I'm a bit of a scaredy cat. So when I jump in the water, I say to the people with me, how deep is the water? How cold is the water? And if anybody else wants to jump in first, you go first. Okay? So we have Onondaga County doing one of these registries. We can find out in July how much they're spending to administer that. How much that's changed their collection rates. Are they collecting more? How are they handling all the platforms? All these references to Airbnb tonight are a bit of a smear. They're not the only player in the market. Actually, they probably consider it praise because it's like Kleenex. You know, everybody uses the word Kleenex for facial tissue. Airbnb is not the only player. There's Vrbo, there are other players. And this is a changing market. So I'd love to know how Erie County's doing. I'd love to know how Albany County's doing. And then I believe that the administration, maybe I'm a fool, is acting in good faith. And why do I believe that? Because when people believe that I don't act in good faith, they're dead to me. Because I act in good faith. So I am going to vote in favor of not going in, making an irrevocable decision to go into this registry, to preserve my right to continue to learn more, and to invite my colleagues in the administration and here in this body to continue to develop our understanding and expertise. And I will be deeply disappointed if this matter after 6 months, 8 months, or 11 months, we don't together make a determination whether to have another discussion and possibly join this registry at that time, if it's the right decision. And for that reason, I'll be voting yes in favor of not making an irrevocable decision, but opting out. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Legislator Cruz.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to ask a couple of questions and then explain my vote. My first question through you, Madam President, to the administration. Back in July 2nd of 2025, on this year, the New York State Associations of Counties put out a memo in which they put a date or approximate date of June 25th of 2026 as the last date for us to opt out. Now, with us being presented this matter as a matter of urgency that needed to be resolved by the end of this month, I just wanted to know what is the miscommunication, or why am I not understanding between these two dates?
Through you, Madam President. So when this law was initially enacted in December of 2024, that June date was not the date. The date was December 31st of 2025. In February, there was a chapter amendment that changed essentially the effective date of the law, and also changed the time periods associated with opting out. Initially, it was 90 days or December 31st. Then it became December 31st of 2025, or 9 months after the effective date, which resulted in the June date that you're referring to. In addition to those dates, there was also a separate date associated with the requirement of a registry being created in the event that the county was going to opt in. And that there was some confusion and some uncertainty about exactly what that date was, but it was believed to be the end of November of 2025. As a result, the county law department, in an effort to ensure that we met any of the deadlines, regardless of what they may be, took a conservative approach and used that December 31st, 2025 deadline to ensure that we did not miss any deadlines that might be applicable.
So through you, Madam Chair, to the administration, if I'm understanding this correctly, then this is, in fact, like you mentioned, a conservative date, and we still may have the time frame to do this in June, but we don't know because the language of the law itself is vague.
Through you, Madam President, no, I don't want to mislead you. The law as it now stands written provides for December 31st, 2025, or 9 months after the effective date, which I believe is, after the calculation, is June 22nd of 2026. Again, though, the law department was of the opinion that we should use this December 31st date, frankly, just to be conservative and ensure that we did not miss any deadlines. I would also add that the New York State Association of Counties initially put out, prior to the correspondence or the memorandum that you were referring to earlier, initially put out guidance that December 31st, 2025 was the deadline, which again caused the law department to use that December 31st date to ensure that we met all appropriate deadlines.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, is there any possibility to the administration, possibility that we could get, Madam President, I apologize.
Oh, I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Any possibility that we could get a brief description of why opting out at this particular moment is better?
Through you, Madam President, Legislator, would you mind just repeating or clarifying your question, please?
Yes, through you, Madam President, to the administration, if we could get a brief description of why opting out at this particular moment is better, would be a better option for us as a county.
Through you, Madam President, my response is essentially the same as what I said before. We believe that opting out by the end of this year is still the most prudent course. It certainly does not in any way prevent us from revisiting this by June or any time thereafter in the event that it's decided that it was not the best decision.
I would like to explain my vote, Madam President. I, like my colleague, Legislator Baynes, agree in the trust and the goodwill nature of our administration and the way in which they wish to lead our county. But as I stated before, our job as a legislator is to trust but verify, and to make sure that we could have the appropriate information in front of us to ensure that we're making appropriate decisions. It's not about distrust. It's about making sure that all the appropriate steps are being taken on behalf of the individuals that we represent within our districts. I do believe that we should have a data-driven process. Data drives decisions, and that's how we could best make sure that the insecurities and the issues that some of our constituents are facing and that I've heard from within my own district can be answered. And because of the lack of time and ability to properly process the pros and cons throughout the last months, I would be opting out for the single reason that I would like more time to properly have the information that is necessary and owed to us to ensure that we can make these decisions, compare and contrast versus other counties and cities and how they're doing in managing this particular issue, and in trust that the administration and the goodwill that they share would, with us, revisit this subject at a soon by nearby time so we can properly make decisions concerning this topic. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Morse.
Additional feedback from residents guided the town further in making several modifications to strengthen our original law. It is still unclear to me with 100% certainty whether opting in would impact Greece's or any other community's current short-term rental code in any way, shape, or form. If it is found after opting in with no way to pull back on that decision that this would negatively impact our short-term rental code in Greece, I know my constituents and many residents all throughout the town of Greece would be extremely unhappy, to say the very least. It is my understanding that opting out does not preclude the county from opting in at a later date when more clarification can be provided. It is for these reasons that I will be supporting my constituents and the residents throughout Greece who support Greece's current short-term rental law and do not want to worry if it will be impacted in any way by voting yes to opt out at this time until more information can be provided. And just in a polite and friendly clarification to my colleague on the other side of the aisle from the east side, we have approximately 98,000 residents in the town. I know.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yeah, Legislator Colvin.
Through you, Madam President, to the Law Department, I think I know the procedure, but could you outline what timeframes And what would be the steps if we want to revisit this issue at a later time to opt in? Are there any restrictions, time-wise?
Through you, Madam President, no, there are no restrictions or timelines to opt in after opting out.
So for clarification, we can opt in at any time in the next couple of years. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam President, yes.
Through the Madam President, what procedures would this legislators have to do to opt in at a later time?
Through you, Madam President, you would essentially have to repeal the law opting out.
So somebody on the prevailing side would have to bring the motion back up, I assume?
Through you, Madam President, I don't believe it matters whether it's from which side. I believe anyone could at any time.
And then we could run it through through you, Madam President, we would could possibly run it through a normal committee cycle and have all the information vetted at that time.
Through you, Madam President, that's correct.
Thank you for the clarifications.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Blankley.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to take a brief moment to explain my vote. I have heard from many constituents, neighborhood associations, and elected officials from both the city of Rochester and the town of Brighton in my district on this issue. After discussions with those groups and explaining the potential pros and cons of moving forward with this registry, I will say without exception, they have all urged me to vote to build this registry and not opt out. I do appreciate that there are potential revenue risks and an administrative burden associated with moving forward with the registry. I do not discount those risks and downsides. However, at my core, I believe collecting and sharing as much information as possible to make policy decisions that impact the people of my district and Monroe County is critical to good government. Building a county-wide registry would achieve that aim with regards to this matter and would allow municipalities to better understand and manage short-term rentals as they see fit. In my estimation, the potential benefits of this registry would close gaps in our current model of managing short-term rentals, and those benefits do outweigh the risks of enacting it in the long run. For those reasons, and based on my conversations with my constituents, I do feel it is in the best interest of the people I represent to vote no on opting out of this state law. However, as several of my colleagues have now noted, if this honorable body does decide to opt out this evening, we are able to revisit it at any time, and it is my hope and expectation that we will revisit this decision in the coming year and consider revising or repealing this local law with the input of the municipalities in our county, additional information from other communities that have opted in, and more information as to the pros and cons of building this registry. Thank you, Madam President. I yield back.
Thank you. Legislator Udelson.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote, and it's clear to me that people are confused on the actual effect of enacting such a registry, which for the cause of county taxation, the hotel motel tax would be an accounting, whereas the ones done at the town level, and I think what some people think this would do, are for code enforcement purposes. I'm sure it will give the county attorney great comfort to know that I agree with him on it being a poorly constructed law. And I think it's just part of the frustration, having been a town supervisor, the state law, which of course, sets the table for what we can and can't do, does not really provide an effective way for dealing with those code enforcement issues. It's done by the towns, but they have to typically write a ticket, take someone to court. The judge gives them a month to clear up the problem. They come back to court, it can drag on and on. It's very frustrating for the neighbors, but I don't want to put hope for people in something that really isn't designed to address that issue. That's not what the county does. I am very open to the feedback from other members of the legislature, and I also feel that if there's a decision to consider this further on, that the legislature and the administration would be open to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Hassan.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to explain my vote. As a resident of the city of Rochester, I live in the Park Ave area. I can assure you nothing has animated my neighbors and neighborhood associations as much as this request before us this evening. We are a city of neighborhoods, and as neighborhoods, we thrive on knowing our neighbors, and we thrive on that community. So I'll be voting no on the short-term rental. I would like to encourage us to enroll in the registry, gather the data, and use that data to effectively use decisions and enforcement moving forward. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Hughes-Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to explain my vote. There's just a couple different issues. For one, NYSAC informs us that there's 100 different platforms for short-term rentals operating across the country and likely across the New York State. And although Airbnb and VRBO are the largest of those platforms, they only capture 75 to 85% of the market. So we got a good 15 to 25% that if we don't participate, we have no way to collect those taxes. They don't have equal playing field with, they have an advantage over those entities that are going with Airbnb or VRBO. So from that kind of equity standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. From the standpoint of transparency and good data, we should be joining the registry. And in addition, I'll note that in other states, South Carolina comes to mind because I'm familiar with someone with property there. They have to register and pay a fee, not just to the state, not just to the county, not just to the town, and also the homeowners association. So from the point of view of encouraging people who own properties to participate, having those properties as short-term rentals, if you're in favor of that, having a registry system that prevents the duplicity of more and more and more registry systems and more hands in the pocket, if you will, would be actually to the advantage of the small businesses, the small owners who want to run these out of their homes or their properties. So I see a lot of advantages. And then finally, I have heard from my town, the town officials in the two communities that I represent, both communities are in favor of having access to data, which this registry would provide. So I will be voting no against opting out. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, legislator.
Yes, I'll rise to just explain my vote. I guess the question before this legislator should be, who's in the best position to control these Airbnbs? Is it us as a county? Or is it the local level? And when you look at the local level, there's elements in place to ensure that code is correct. In the city of Rochester, you have certificates of occupancy. Every 5 years, you have code enforcement attorneys, certificates of occupancy, code enforcement attorneys. Every town and municipality has a legal department, a code enforcement attorney. Do we wish to further restrict individuals that own property at the county level? No. The local level is where it should be done. The local level is where the registry should happen. Those that wish to have this registry at the county level wish to do it to regulate, to do what should be done at the local level. And for those reasons, I'm going to vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. So I'd like to share and explain my vote as well. So tonight I will be voting in the affirmative to opt out of the state short-term rental registry requirement. I want to make it very clear that this vote is not a rejection of the concept of a registry. Instead, it's a decision for more information, as was shared by many individuals, and to make an informed decision if and when we were to opt in. Opting out today ensures that Monroe County retains flexibility. It preserves our ability to opt out at a later time. To opt in at a later time once we have fully assessed the operational and administrative responsibilities that come with creating and maintaining a registry, and really to answer the question of who should be in charge. If this legislature chooses in the future to pursue a registry, we must ensure that we have the infrastructure, staffing, and systems in place to administer effectively. As was mentioned, code enforcement, taxation, to do hotel motel tax collection. These are truly not small undertakings. They should be implemented with clear and well-planned frameworks. I also want to extend my sincere thanks to everyone who shared their input on the issue. Whether you spoke during the public forum tonight or reached out to us via email or the phone, your engagement helps us inform legislature's work. Your perspectives are invaluable as we evaluate what long-term approach will best serve Monroe County. Our community deserves policies built on strong foundations, not ones rushed because of deadlines. By opting out tonight, we are giving ourselves the time and space needed to explore this topic thoroughly, engage stakeholders, some of who are new to governing bodies, understand the real impact on our community and our homeowners, ensure that any future action is measured, sustainable, and aligned with the needs of Monroe County. So this is about me doing my due diligence. It's about all of us doing our due diligence. It's about ensuring that when we make long-term decisions, we do so with the clarity and preparation that our residents deserve. And I'm truly making this public statement so that if we do and when we do revisit this registry, we do so after conversations with many new partners in our endeavor. So with that being said, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Please, you are correct. Roll call vote.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Yes.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baynes.
Yes.
Mr. Baynes votes yes. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes no. Ms. Bonnick.
Yes.
Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy.
Yes.
Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. DeVecchio Hoffman. Ms. DeVecchio Hoffman votes no. Mrs. DiFlorio.
Yes.
Mrs. DiFlorio votes yes. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman.
No.
Ms. Hasman votes no. Ms. Hughes-Smith.
No.
Ms. Hughes-Smith votes no. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Maffucci.
Yes.
Mr. Maffucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre.
No.
Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair.
No.
Is that no? Mr.
No.
Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons.
No.
Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 21-8, local law passes.
Thank you.
Item number 3, referral 25-0336, confirming appointment to Monroe County Board of Health.
Sorry, moved by
Legislator Barnhart.
Legislator Barnhart, seconded by Legislator
Baynes.
Baynes. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Legislator McIntyre.
Thank you. I rise to explain my vote on this one. Because we've already appointed, I believe there were 2 a few months back. I really, really like the resume of this candidate. I think that it is very impressive, but I still would very much like to see a person appointed to this commission that has the concentration of their work in working with older adults. We are really on the verge of a crisis with the fact that communities like mine are about 30% over the age of 60 right now. And we really don't have anybody whose sole specialization is working with older residents. This particular candidate is great because she has about 4.5 years of working with the Alzheimer's Association, which I really appreciate. But I would love to see a candidate when there is time for us to get another candidate onto this board. If someone turns out, it is very, very important. And it goes beyond. The last time that I talked about this issue, The Council of Elders was brought up. That's a separate council. We really do need someone, especially with all of the different homes that have been closing and how much people are struggling and how many people like me are caretakers or in the case of my uncle, I'm a court-appointed guardian. There are so many of our elderly these days that don't have anyone to speak for them. It is so important that we get someone onto this health commission that really understands that as the focus of their work. And so I will, of course, I love the resume of this person, Dina Johnson, and I will be, of course, approving it, but I would still like to see more attention given to our older adults. It's more important than anyone can imagine, and age is coming for us all if we're lucky.
Mhm.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Madam President,
Yes, Legislator Udelson.
I move that we consider items number 4 through 34 as a whole, or as one item, with the exception of item number 23.
Second.
Moved by Leader Udelson, seconded by Leader Brew. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items carry. I think we said 23.
Item number 23, referral 25-0377, confirming reappointment of Director of Office of Public Integrity.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Oh, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One nay?
Is that Legislator Barnhart?
Yes.
28-1. Resolution passes.
Thank you.
We are now on item number 35. Item number 35, referral 25-0330, providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2026 Monroe County Budget and establishing 2026 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees be lifted from the table.
Move it.
Moved by Legislator Maffucci, seconded by Legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Yes, Legislator Vasquez.
No discussion on lifting from the table, correct?
No, there is no discussion on lifting.
Lifting from the table, correct.
Is this
We're
for
just
the
lifting
budget?
from the table.
My apologies.
Thank you.
Any opposed? Sorry, there's no discussion on the item because we're tabling. So looking
Lift it-
for
lift
all
it
in
from-
favor. Oh, my goodness. Is it time for recess yet? Sorry. So we are lifting from the table.
All in favor.
All in favor. Any opposed? Okay,
Here we go.
item has been lifted from the table. There we go.
Item number 36, referral 25-0330, providing that resolution entitled Adoption of 2026 Monroe County Budget and establishing 2026 classification, compensation, and salary schedule for Monroe County employees be adopted.
Move it.
Second.
Madam President,
Yes, Legislator.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the budget. Copies of the amendment has been given to the legislature, to the legislative clerk for distribution. Section 1 of this amendment is an ask to decrease the Seneca Park Zoo fees by $2, returning the rate to the agreed upon rate in 2025. First, I'd like to thank the administration for retaining the 2025 rate pricing for SNAP recipients, veterans, and active military. Many members of my district and other working families throughout Monroe County are not receiving public assistance. They're struggling with keeping up with the increased cost of living. Many of these households are slightly above the poverty line, making them ineligible for benefits or government subsidies, along with discounts to our parks and zoos. Thank you, Madam President.
Did you have a second on that? Was that Legislator DiFlorio?
Moved by
Legislator Vasquez Simmons.
Rebecca Simmons, seconded by Legislator DiFlorio. Is there any discussion on the proposed amendment? Yes, Legislator Milne.
It's my thought that through the budget process, we cannot remove anything. We can add to the budget process, but we can't remove something that's in the budget. And I would ask you, through you, Madam President, to the Law Department, if that is correct.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, through you, Madam President. I'll read for you the statute. It's from the charter, section C4-4, titled Adoption of Annual Budget, and subdivision A. The last sentence reads, "The legislature shall have the power to add revenue sources or increase rates of non-property taxes, fees, and charges as authorized by applicable state law, provided, however, that it shall not alter the estimates of yields of existing and authorized revenue sources as submitted by the county executive."
Okay. I do rule in favor of your point of order.
So there's no discussion there.
Yeah, there's no discussion on. So you're challenging that, okay? Yes. See? Roll call vote. To appeal the ruling of the chair, I'm calling the amendment out of order.
Yes.
Yes, upholds my.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Who was that? Legislator Barnhart? Legislator Barnhart, was that you? Yeah. Yes sustains the rule of the president. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart.
No.
Ms. Barnhart votes no. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Yes.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baynes. Mr. Baynes votes yes. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely votes yes. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy.
No.
Mr. Chardy votes no. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz. Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes no. Mrs. DiFlorio. Mrs. DiFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hughes-Smith. Ms. Hughes-Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes no. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Maffucci.
Yes.
Mr. Maffucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair.
No.
Mr. Sinclair votes no. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes no. President Roman.
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 21-8. Rule of the chair is sustained. Rule of the president is sustained. Back to the main motion.
Back to the main motion. Any other discussion on the main motion? Which is the budget. No,
You're on the motion to adopt the budget.
we're back on the main motion to adopt the budget. Yes. Yep. Yeah, no problem. Any discussion on the main, but yes. Legislator Baynes.
I think we would be remiss as a body if we didn't take this moment to thank our new budget director for all of her work, and especially, let's all be honest, she did step into the shoes of a legend and Bob Franklin. And, you know, as Deputy County Executive McCann said, you know, it reflects on the whole team, and we really appreciate all the work. I know my colleagues do. I thought we had robust committee discussions this year. I thought they were very positive, and all the questions were pertinent to policy. And And if I erred in this way, I apologize, but I was attempting to be as transparent as I could be in my questions. So I want to thank the administration for all the work, and especially our new budget director, Mr. Serio, for your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Yes, Legislator Dondor.
Thank you, Madam President. I also rise to show my support for this budget. The 2026 Monroe County budget bolsters public safety in a clear, practical, and measurable way. Our sheriff's office and other emergency responders are facing rising call volumes, more complex incidents, and greater expectations from the public. This budget ensures that they have the staffing, training, and equipment needed to respond quickly and effectively. These are basic tools to keep our community safe and allow our deputies, investigators, probation officers, and dispatchers to do their job well. This budget also maintains critical investments in the backbone of our public safety and often overlooked, our 911 system. Coordinated emergency responses and technologies that let agencies communicate seamlessly across jurisdictions. When someone calls for help, they expect a fast, capable response, and this budget supports exactly that. Just as important, the plan continues to continues funding for prevention of community-based initiatives that address root conditions that lead to crime. Strong preventative efforts reduce caseloads, reduce long-term costs, and reduce the harm before it happens. And finally, the budget provides stability with consistent support that allows public safety agencies to plan, prepare, and protect the public with confidence. Public safety is the most fundamental service that we provide, and this budget keeps that necessity front and center. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to echo Legislator Baynes thanking Jen Cesario for all the hard work you've put into a great budget. I'm proud to be able to say that once again, I'll be voting for a budget that cuts the tax rate, something that I've done each year I've been a legislator. In regards to the increases in spending, almost the entirety of such is due to the New York State mandates, which encompasses about 85% of the total budget, which we have no choice in. While I don't like these unfunded mandates, I do like holding spending flat in the areas of this budget that we do have a say in. This proves that Monroe County is dedicated to saving taxpayers' hard-earned money as much as we can. This budget controls spending, avoids unnecessary expansion of government, and focuses instead on protecting the essential services of our residents who rely on each and every day. A major investment is public safety. By fully funding the Sheriff's Office, the District Attorney's Office, Department of Public Safety, and more, we are ensuring that the people of Monroe County can know they are safe each and every day. This budget also supports the infrastructure like our roads we travel upon, human services that provides assurances to those less fortunate. I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this budget for its fiscal soundness, dedication to public safety, and practical approach to county governance. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Yes, Legislator DiFlorio.
Thank you to Hamlin, the finance director, but also from for allowing pushing up the year. It's an honorable job.
Stewards of the people's money. The concerns of
Yeah, and I know they're raising month numbers of staff. Wait, it's a little different. 2020. County operating budget.
334,992.
Legislator, is your mic on? The interpreter's having trouble. There you go.
by 712.5.
We'll just have Keller turn his on. Hers. This level of growth is unsustainable.
yeah, that's good. I think that I have order of safety. Maybe eight workers that are like we community special services. Yeah, standing education being provided. Knowledge. I cannot support this budget.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator Maffucci.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to take this opportunity, if I could, to show my 115 slides for the budget presentation. I'm just kidding. It's an excellent budget, given these challenging times, so I'm proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Legislator McIntyre.
I rise to explain my vote.
Yes.
I really struggle with deciding whether to vote yes or no on this budget, even though I have a huge amount of appreciation for our new CFO, Jennifer Cesario, that put this together. I think she did an excellent job. I think that the cuts that she made are necessary and were difficult, and that every single department of this county had a really hard time deciding where to make those cuts. I love the spending on public safety. I love the fact that we have our sheriff's department and our CPS, all of them are doing a great job. And I'm satisfied with a lot of things in this budget, but there's so much spending. And quite frankly, in the town of Gates this year, there were reassessments. And because of those reassessments, even though many people in the county will feel that their taxes decreased, the majority of my residents in the town of Gates are really going to feel an increase in this specific budget. For them, some of the assessments went, for example, I can speak for my mother's house, but not just her house, from $56,000 to $139,000. That's going to double what she was paying the county. And I know that there are, for example, even my landlord came to me and said that he's seeing an increase. I would feel terrible looking over at my residents, patting myself on the back for bringing down the tax rate per thousand, while those elderly people in my community that are living paycheck to paycheck are actually going to see an increase in their taxes this year. And I understand that this is a county-wide budget, but looking at the budget back in 2020, as I did my own research, the average cost of a house back in 2020 was $146,900. According to this budget, the average cost of a house is $289,800. So over a 6-year period, for our residents, even if they have a median average size home, that's going to be a $351.92 increase, even though we're bringing down the rate per thousand. That's really concerning when there are so many people that are struggling to get by. And if we look at at inflation, if we were to look at what someone was spending on a median home in 2021 or 2020, the initial cost would have been around $1,291.25. So that's with the tax rate at $8.79 on a $146,900 home. Year by year, looking at inflation as an average of 2%, what they should be paying this year would be $1,451.15. But that's not what they're actually going to pay. In fact, if you have a home that's $289,800, you're going to be paying about $1,643.17. So that's about $189 difference. That's a difference that, quite frankly, a lot of families are going to have a hard time with, even though maybe someone might look over at me and say, it's just around $200. Well, you know what? For families that are struggling, that's $200 too much. So as much as I appreciate everything that has been done to control the spending a little bit more, it's just not enough. We've got to find places that we can cut. And as we're talking about the zoo, this year, my colleague brought up the fact that we could have blocked that. especially because we weren't sure if the money was going to be coming in from the Zoo Society. And we didn't. We moved forward with it. Of course, myself and other colleagues voted no, but that could have saved us a lot of money. There are different places that we could be saving money in this budget without having to compromise on our wonderful staff at the county level. And I really do say that because I think they are wonderful. I think they do an excellent job. But unfortunately, considering how this budget is going to affect the majority of my residents in Gates, and I will be very happy to see that the residents in Greece that wrote to me last year telling me that they had received a letter from me saying that the tax rate went down, but they were paying more taxes. Well, this year they're going to be paying a little bit less because I'm sure the budget's going to pass. But my residents in Gates, they're going to be paying a lot more. And for that reason, my conscience with the fact that I promised all of them when I got elected that I would hold the line on spending, that I would curb spending as much as possible. I wouldn't be able to sleep if I signed off on a budget tonight that's going to increase the taxes for my residents. So unfortunately, even though I know there was a lot of work put into this budget, I'm going to have to vote no this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No other discussion? Okay. I'm just going to explain my vote. So the year 2025 presented economic challenges to communities across the nation, and Monroe County was no exception. Rising costs, federal funding reductions, and increased demand for essential services created one of the most difficult budget environments we have faced in recent memory. And as many of us sat in committee meetings, listening to and asking questions about why we were spending, where we were spending, and how it would impact our residents. Despite the challenges, I think the budget takes meaningful steps to support the essential services that residents rely on. It includes strategic investments in public safety, economic and workforce development, community infrastructure and sustainability, public health, and areas that are especially critical during economic uncertainty. The budget continues the county's longstanding commitment to addressing the opioid epidemic. We are able to support efforts to protect vital public health resources, including a 10.3% increase in early childhood education and early intervention funding, received additional dollars from the state for $11.3 million in the allocation of daycare totaling approximately $98 million, ensuring that childcare and working families can access the services that they need with a commitment to ensure enrollment continues. Still, we must be candid. This budget does not shield us entirely from the realities ahead. Reduced federal support and raising operational costs will require continued vigilance and discipline. So with that being said, I am voting in the affirmative for this budget so that we can continue to move Monroe County forward and provide the vital services that our community needs. Roll call vote.
Mr. Udelson? Mr. Udelson votes yes. Mr. Brew? Mr. Brew votes yes. Ms. Barnhart?
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart votes yes. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy?
Yes.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes yes. Mr. Baynes?
Yes.
Mr. Baynes votes yes. Mr. Blankley? Mr. Blankley votes yes. Ms. Bonnick?
Yes.
Ms. Bonnick votes yes. Mr. Burgess? Mr. Burgess votes yes. Mr. Chardy?
Yes.
Mr. Chardy votes yes. Mr. Colby? Mr. Colby votes yes. Mr. Cruz?
Yes.
Mr. Cruz votes yes. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman? Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes yes. Mrs. DiFlorio? Mrs. DiFlorio votes no. Mr. Dondorfer? Mr. Dondorfer votes yes. Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier votes yes. Ms. Hasman?
Yes.
Ms. Hasman votes yes. Ms. Hughes-Smith? Ms. Hughes-Smith votes yes. Mr. Johns? Mr. Johns votes yes. Mr. Keller? Mr. Keller votes yes. Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Long votes yes. Mr. Maffucci?
Yes.
Mr. Maffucci votes yes. Mr. McCabe? Mr. McCabe votes yes. Ms. McIntyre? Ms. McIntyre votes no. Mr. Milne? Mr. Milne votes yes. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris votes yes. Mr. Sinclair?
Yes.
Mr. Sinclair votes yes. Ms. Smith? Ms. Smith votes yes. Ms. Vasquez Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes yes. President Roman?
Yes.
President Roman votes yes. 27-2, budget passes.
Thank you. Now we take a recess. Minute recess? He needs time. We'll take a 10-minute recess.
Legislator Sinclair, can you hear us? Are you still there? And the interpreter?
Interpreter is.
Looks like the interpreter can hear me.
Yes, I am. I'm back. Sorry. Okay, welcome. Welcome back. I'll now reconvene the legislature. Thank you all. We are on item number 37.
Item number 37, referral 25-0447.BR, authorized bond resolutions and interfund transfers for the 2026 Monroe County capital budget.
Move it.
Moved by legislator Maffucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 25-0448, total tax levy 2026.
Move it.
Moved by legislator Maffucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Madam President,
Yes,
I move that we approve items number 39 through 60 as a single item.
Second.
moved by legislator Udelson, seconded by legislator Brew to move items 39 through 60 as whole. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to declare my interest on item number 46 and item number 53.
Any other discussion? Yes.
I would like to declare my interest on those same items.
Got it.
I'd like to declare my interest on item 57.
Hey,
Hang on one second on that one. That was legislator Baynes.
yes.
57.
Got it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items carry. We now go on to item number 60.
Item number 61. Referral number 25-0449, standard workday and reporting resolution for county elected and appointed officials for retirement credit purposes.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by legislator Maffucci, seconded by legislator Udelson. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 62, referral 25-0450, election for position of second assistant deputy clerk of the legislature.
Thank you. The floor is now open for the purpose of nominating a second assistant clerk to the legislature.
Madam President,
Yes, legislator Baynes.
I rise with great pride to nominate my former student, the pride of Our Lady of Mercy High School, the pride of Cornell University, of which she graduated, a couple years ago, and a young woman who's done great work for our legislature, Ms. Isabella Mulcahy.
Thank you. Moved by
Second.
Legislator Baynes, seconded by Bartholomew McCoy, Santos, Vasquez Simmons, Frazier, and Delvecchio Hoffman, as well as Burgess. Are there any other nominations? Yes, Legislator.
I rise to nominate the pride, our new lady staffer, Kate Campbell. Her international experience is second to none, and we would love to see her have this new position. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you.
Second, Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I now declare the nominations closed. We will now vote. Please vote by saying McCabe.
Mulcahy.
Or Campbell. Okay,
Ready?
roll call vote.
Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson votes Mulcahy. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew votes Campbell. Ms. Barnhart.
Okay.
Ms. Barnhart votes Mulcahy. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Okay.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy votes Mulcahy. Mr. Baynes.
Isabella Mulcahy.
Mr. Baynes votes Mulcahy. Mr. Blankley. Mr. Blankley votes Mulcahy. Ms. Bonnick.
Mulcahy.
Ms. Bonnick votes Mulcahy. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess votes Mulcahy. Mr. Chardy.
Kate Campbell.
Mr. Chardy votes Campbell. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby votes Campbell. Mr. Cruz.
Mulcahy.
Mr. Cruz votes Mulcahy. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman votes Mulcahy. Mrs. DiFlorio. Mrs. DiFlorio votes Campbell. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer votes Campbell. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier votes Mulcahy. Ms. Hasman.
Mulcahy.
Ms. Hasman votes Mulcahy. Ms. Hughes-Smith. Ms. Hughes-Smith votes Mulcahy. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns votes Campbell. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller votes Campbell. Mr. Long. Mr. Long votes Mulcahy. Mr. Maffucci.
Mulcahy.
Mr. Maffucci votes Mulcahy. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe votes Campbell. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre votes Campbell. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne votes Campbell. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris votes Campbell. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair,
Campbell.
I can see you saying Campbell. Mr.
He's
Sinclair.
saying Mulcahy. I think he's.
Mr. Sinclair votes Campbell. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith votes Campbell. Ms. Vasquez Simmons.
Mulcahy.
Ms. Vasquez Simmons votes Mulcahy and President Román.
Mulcahy.
President Román votes Mulcahy.
Thank-
16-13. Ms. Mulcahy is voted as the next second assistant deputy clerk of the legislature.
Thank you very much to Isabella and our outgoing second assistant, Adina. Thank you for all you've done for the legislature. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 63, referral 25-0451, confirming reappointments to the Monroe County Traffic Safety Board.
Move it.
Moved by legislator Barnhart, seconded by legislator Baynes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. At this time, we are going to do the presentation of plaques, and I would like to ask the Honorable Tracy DiFlorio to come forward. Legislator DiFlorio, on behalf of the legislature, I want to present you with a plaque. On the plaque, it mentions all the years that you've been with us and your service from 2016 to 2025 in your roles as Deputy Majority Leader, Assistant Majority Leader, Chairwoman of Planning Economic Development, Vice Chairwoman of Intergovernmental Relations, a committee member for Environment and Public Works, Human Services, Intergovernmental Relations, Planning, Economic Development, Public Safety, Transportation, and Ways and Means. I also want to let you know that it's been a pleasure serving alongside you. I look forward to working alongside you in the community in any ways that our paths may cross. So there you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and as is tradition, a few words.
Just a few, just very brief. It's late. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. It has been a pleasure working with all of you as well. We've had some good times. We've had some maybe not so good times. But there's a lot to be proud of. And specifically, I think back to the constituent work that I have been able to do over the last 10 years, the students that we've been able to recognize at the Monroe County Youth Awards. There's really some outstanding things that I personally have been able to do, and I've appreciated the opportunity to do that. So thank you to all of you, and good luck next year. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and now I'd ask the Honorable Steve Brew to come up. No. On up. Hello.
I'm just here.
Hurt. Thank you so much for being here. So on behalf of the Monroe County Legislature, I'd like to present Steve Brew with a plaque in recognition of your dedication and service to Monroe County. On the plaque, it lists your time served with us from 2016 to 2025 as a legislator representing District 12, Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, the Chairman of Economic and Public Works, the Vice Chairman of Agenda Charter, Vice Chairman of Intergovernmental Relationships, Vice Chairman of Economic and Public Works, and committee members of Agenda Charter, Environment and Public Works, Human Service, Intergovernmental Relations, and Ways and Means. And I just want to say, Brew, it has been my pleasure to serve alongside you. I caught a little frog in my throat. It really has been my honor. No matter what side of the aisle on an issue we have been on, we've always been able to have conversations and be frank with each other. And I've truly appreciated that and look forward to working alongside you as well in any capacity. But I wish you well in retirement and have fun.
Thank you very much.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you, President Román. And knowing that I'm between everybody here and the exit door is a little bit challenging, but I've got a few more words to say. It was just 10 years ago that we were standing here. It seems like it was just 10 weeks ago, taking the oath of office to become legislators. And this evening, I rise with a feeling of gratitude and humility as I offer what will be my final remarks of this honorable body. When I first took this seat, I knew public service would be demanding. What I did not fully anticipate is how deeply it would shape me, how profoundly it would deepen my awareness and understanding of all walks of the people in the communities of Monroe County. From the very, very beginning, my guiding principle has been simple and unwavering. People over politics. I have never been shy about that. At times, it has put me at odds with some very powerful political figures. There were moments when my commitment to putting people first was not the most convenient or the most popular course of action. I refuse to allow my caucus to be used as a political spearhead, and I make no apologies for that approach. But let me be clear. There have been many times where I've debated, defended, and advanced ideas rooted in our core principles, ideas that were not always embraced by some of my colleagues in the administration, and there's also been time when those efforts succeeded. When reason prevailed and we demonstrated that principled leadership still has a place in local government. Now, I would like to recall some more memorable experiences I've had as a legislator over the years. As rewind 6 years ago to the arrival of a new Democratic administration and County Executive Bello, it was no secret that I was as much disappointed in the outcome as I was hopeful for the future. I was 100% convinced that they saw things differently than I did, and I wasn't entirely sure what the next few years might look like. But when COVID arrived, everything changed, and suddenly we're all trying to work together just to get through. Those months of remote legislative sessions are something I will never forget. How could we? Staring at 29 little boxes on a screen, half of them muted, a few of them decidedly not muted, and with some very interesting background noise, several frozen in time, and one or two who were clearly either sleeping or multitasking. That was government during COVID. I'll never forget the relief of returning to these wonderful chambers. Not long after COVID came the ARPA discussions, and that brought some genuine collaboration. Dialogue between our caucus and the administration, including Deputy County Executive McCann. I've known Jeff for 25 years. I've always appreciated having a seat at the table. And I appreciated even more that Jeff and I could talk candidly, disagree respectfully, and find solutions that worked out for most everyone. Then came redistricting, a rocky start, absolutely. But in the end, we got it done. How? By both sides sitting down, talking through it, and doing something rare these days, compromising. It turns out when no one gets everything they want, everyone can live with result. Broadband to the rural west side of Monroe County was another milestone, long overdue. Much needed, as we all learned during COVID and our time performing our work duties, that our kids attending school remotely. The days of the internet unavailability or poor connectivity are pretty much over in Monroe County. Additionally, ARPA funding has given us the ability to make meaningful investments in a shared priority among myself, my caucus, and others. It's public safety. These commitments have been sustained year after year, and tonight's budget is no exception. And for that, I applaud the administration in ignoring the anti-police rhetoric and providing for our public safety that will serve our county now and for years to come. Another accomplishment that my fellow caucus members and I are extremely proud of is participating in a cost-sharing agreement between the towns and the county for sidewalk construction. For years, suburban communities talked about it. The cost implications for the towns made sidewalks unattainable, and then finally, we made it happen. All of these projects worked because we collaborated, placed egos aside, and got to the business of getting things done. And speaking of egos, Jeff McCann has proudly claimed for years that his iced coffee is award-winning. Now, I never tasted it, so I can't confirm that one way or another. What I can confirm with documented evidence is that my chili is award-winning, and I have the winning hardware to prove it. And if anyone doubts it, just ask both the Democratic and Republican staff after last week's Chili Fest. Trust me, they all gave me a thumbs up. As I near the end of my remarks, the friendships I've made here are what I cherish the most. my fellow Republican caucus legislators who have for the last 6 years entrusted me in my leadership role. Thank you for your faith in me, your humor, and your shared commitment to serving the people of Monroe County. To those in the administration, to name just a few, again, Deputy County Executive Jeff McCann, Adrian Green, County Executive Bello, Mike Garland, and Nick Stefanovich. I know I've left many out, but those are the ones that have really stood out and really rolled up their sleeves to come to agreements with all of the different things that we were working on, and were very, very instrumental in moving them forward. I'd also like to give a shout out to some former members of the administration. They are Bob Franklin, County Attorney John Bringawat, and Deputy County Attorney Laura Smith. To our dedicated staff, from Kate to Ian, from Ian to Reese, from Reese to Alex, you have all been part of the journey. You keep us organized, informed, and our toes out of trouble. For that, you alone deserve medals. And then there's my chief of staff, Riley O'Brien. Of all the people I've worked with, Riley has been a standout. Wise beyond his years, patient beyond what's reasonable, and gifted in ways that I know will take him far. I will miss his texts, his calls, the late night emails, and the ongoing reminders that, no, Steve, you can't say it exactly like that. Riley, thank you for being extraordinary, and thank you for making me look far more competent than sometimes I felt. Finally, the most important person in my life, my wife, Marge, my friend, my companion, my cheerleader, my door-to-door partner through 4 election campaigns, the woman who would beep the horn when I've talked a little too long at the front door, and the kindest, most loving soul I know. Marge, we walked this journey together. Now it's time we walk into our next chapter, preferably on one of those new sidewalks in the town of Riga. As I look back, I am overwhelmed on how blessed I have been, and I fully acknowledge that blessings are never an accident. They come from the Lord, from faith, and from trusting in his divine guidance. That guidance carried me through a decade of service, a number of ups and downs. It is my foundation. So tonight, with great humility and gratitude, I thank every one of you, colleagues on both sides of the aisle, staff, administration, and most of all, the citizens of Legislative District 12 who have entrusted me with this honor. It has truly been an honor of my lifetime. Now, with all the heartfelt reflection out of the way, let me simply say goodbye.
Bye. Bye, and thank you. Okay. Thank you both again for your dedication and service to Monroe County. And with that being said, we're calling this meeting to a close. Legislator Udelson.
Madam President, I move we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026.
So moved. Have a good night.